Welcome in. It is three-man front here on a Thursday, a very busy Thursday. Landrum Roberts, Conrad Van Order, Molly Robinson doing the Lord's work there behind the glass with her Cornhuskers sweatshirt on. How's everybody doing this morning?
Good. I don't know if I can hear. I don't know how Cole.
I was having problems too. Have you adjusted your knob?
No, it's fine. It was just so loud.
It's quiet.
I'm worried about his hearing.
What's going on? We're not blaming it on Molly. It's not the way we're starting. You okay, Molly?
Yeah, I'm great. I was just cold in the office. That's why I have my sweatshirt on.
Okay. It's a nice temperature in here in the studio. It's like 60, I'm guessing 69, 68 degrees.
Yeah, it feels nice. Maybe the clouds a little overcast today. Potential for some rain. Hopefully cooling us down a little bit.
I'm upbeat because it's a Thursday, but before you jump to any conclusions, I know what happened last night in West Sacramento.
It was good.
Sure, it was good. I checked the score on my phone. We had Wednesday night church and got to go, and that was a lot more redeeming than watching Braves baseball. It would be anyways, but a lot more redeeming, especially this season. And I checked the score, and I said, oh, it's 7-0. Very good. Ronald Acuna, imagine that.
Yeah, he had himself quite a night. If you, I think if you want to relive it a little bit, we could do that. If you want to,
let's do it. Maybe one final time this season, we can relive some.
Is this in the top 5? Because you've been putting together your top 5 games of the Braves 2025 season. You had 3 of them, I think.
I had 3.
Is this going to be the 4th one?
It
was a good one.
This potentially could be. I'm just reluctant to do it because it's against the Athletics.
That's fair.
Right?
Fair.
All right.
I just didn't know if in the hindsight of what happened the night before, maybe it made last night a little better.
Well, that's this team, man. That is totally this team. Courtesy of our friends at the Braves Radio Network. This is what happened last night.
1-1 is absolutely annihilated. Deep left field and out of sight. Ronald Acuna just sent one out of the county. And it's 1-0 Braves here in the top of the first inning. What an impressive shot by Acuna. I mean, off the premises. Here's the pitch on the way to Baldwin. And Baldwin with a towering fly ball. This is reaching back for the wall. Clark to the wall. That is gone! A 3-run homer. And the Braves with a 4-0 lead here in the top of the first as they have come out bashing Mitch Spence, the right-hander. Hitters count 3-1. And Riley ignites one to deep left field. Soderstrom going to go back, and that too is going to leave the yard. It's a 2-run home run by Austin Riley. He just thumped that thing right over the left field wall for his 14th home run of the season, and the Braves have a 6-0 lead. 0-2, and he whacks one to deep right field. This has got a shot. Butler to the wall. That is gone as well. It's a homer by Acuna, his second of the night. And Eureka, Braves on top 7-0. Just need a homer. Braves have already hit 4 of them tonight. How about one more? And Ozuna with a deep fly to center field. Denzel Clark racing back into his left at the wall, climbs the wall, and that's gone. Right on cue. Ozuna with his first home run in a while, and that makes it 8-1 Braves here in the top of the 6th inning. And the 2-2 pitch on the way to Butler. Struck him out, and the Braves win. It's the Braves' 40th win of the season, and tonight it was bombs away in Sacramento. The Braves hit 5 home runs, jumped out to an early lead. Bryce Elder pitched very well, and the Braves cruised into the win column from there.
All right, 2 things there. The production, 95% of the production from those players, those were all players that I said are non-negotiable. We want them to remain on the roster. Don't put them out there for trade bait. Ozuna, that's fine. If you want to do, I understand that.
He was due for one.
No, but Acuna, Baldwin, and Riley.
Yep.
Olsen is another one of those guys. Like, no, want to hang on to them. The other thing, if you have watched the Braves this year, you know what they're going to follow this up with.
Oh, a stinker tonight?
Might not score a run. Or leave a lot of guys in scoring position. And here's my guess. The Braves do not score more than 3 runs today.
Sadly,
that's just how they've been.
I know. Sadly, that's probably pretty sad.
It comes in bunches for the Braves this season.
Mm-hmm.
They'll go out. They'll beat a team, whatever. You're like, where did that come from? They scored 10 runs. and then the next day they will face a guy that has not pitched in the major leagues in 4 years, and they have reattached his arm, and they will struggle to get the ball out of the infield.
Yeah, that's certainly seems to have been the case a lot of the time. So hopefully you're wrong. Hopefully this is the start of what could potentially be a 5-game winning streak going into the All-Star break. I know I'm pumping sunshine and rainbows in here right now, but
If the last thing that the Braves do this season is sweep the Cardinals,
hey,
I'd be fine.
bragging rights.
Pat Smith, he'll be
That's
back with
exactly
us on
right.
Monday live from Atlanta for SEC Media Days and our coverage all week long there. But yeah, and I'm sure he's listening right now. And Pat, that would make my season, just sweeping your Cardinals right before the All-Star break.
I'm sure
The
that-
last meaningful game inside of Truist. Are we going to the home run derby? Have we decided that?
I don't know. I thought Barrett was working on letting us go shag fly balls during the home run derby.
Maybe so. Molly, here during the show, can you do, because you're our kind of our ticket procurer, can you look and see what 3 home run derby tickets?
Just home run derby, no All-Star game?
Just home run, yeah.
I can
I'm not
take a
shelling
look.
out the money for the All-Star game.
I'm going to guess the home run derby for 3 of us after fees and all the whatever you got to go through with the ticket places. $380. That's going to be my guess. $380 for 3 tickets. and
For 3?
fees. Yeah, I feel like a home run derby is probably a little over $100 because it's an all-star game. It's not going to be as much as the actual game, right? But it's still a pretty big event. It's in
Is-
Atlanta. It's a nice stadium.
Major League Baseball game, is that the most digestible All-Star game we have in professional sports? It is, right?
Yeah, it's by far the best. in
And
my
home run
opinion.
derby, it's kind of run its course, but I'm excited about it, number one, because it's inside of Truist. But
I still enjoy it.
yeah,
You said 380.
For 3 tickets.
Okay. The cheapest tickets on
this is not
StubHub.
good.
And I did 3 seats together because
Okay.
I'm assuming you guys want to sit together.
Well, that's fine.
Of course.
$230 per ticket.
Do they have general admission? Standing room only?
How
I
much
don't-
to be a ball boy?
Usher for
I
an
don't
hour?
see any, but you're looking about 230, 240 as I'm scrolling through. Ooh, those are 700.
That's a lot. That's a lot of starving to see good baseball and long ball Atlanta fans that are paying top dollar for these tickets. They've taken the approach that I have and the mindset that this is going to be the last entertaining game inside of Truist this year.
Well, and I think a lot of people
Braves.
also because, I know this is an old wound that I'm not trying to reopen it, but
No, go ahead.
I know a lot of Braves fans very upset with how they handled the All-Star game a couple of years ago, and so this is your opportunity to get to experience what I think some people maybe felt was taken from them.
Yeah.
A couple years ago. So
And never say never, but it's kind of staring me there in the face. This would be a kind of a bucket list thing. It's never been high on my bucket list to go to
See,
Major League
I've-
Baseball, but it's a Truist. We're going to be there.
And that's how I felt last year because when we were at Media Days in Dallas, it was the All-Star game was in Arlington. And I mean, a bunch of people that were staying at our hotel were there for the All-Star weekend. I was like, man, I feel like I'm really missing out. But then you look at the tickets and you're like,
So if you want standing room only for the All-Star game, I can't find them for the home run derby. Maybe
All right,
they're
what
just
is it
not
for
on
the
StubHub.
All-Star game?
But for the All-Star game, it's $220. It's actually cheaper to get standing room only for the All-Star game than it is the home run
What
derby.
time's that start? I'm just worried about Conrad.
it
He's
says-
got an early wake up.
It says 8 o'clock.
no, I'm fine.
Oh, yeah, he's fine.
I'll be fine.
But say he stays up till like 2 a.m. every day.
Wait, I'm just thinking this now. No, see, it's great. I actually get to wake up an hour later in Atlanta.
Yeah.
Because when it's 7 o'clock there, it'll be 6 o'clock here. So I actually get to sleep more than I normally would. Is that how that works?
That's a good call. You'll be on so much adrenaline doing that show.
Yeah.
That's
You-
right.
You really will be.
That's right.
And I'll be there to cheer you on and pump you up.
I appreciate that. And
As
by
you're
that, you
walking
mean
down-
in bed asleep.
Well, walking down the hall. No, I'll be up. I'll be up. I'll have the adrenaline going too.
That's great.
SEC Media Days, it just means more Conrad.
That's right. It does. And we're very excited to be in Atlanta next week.
You
and it'll
guys
be a
take
great.
a lot of pictures for me.
Oh,
We will.
Malls.
Okay.
Come on, Malls. I know. It's fine.
FaceTime me and
We'll bring you back some souvenirs.
say hi to everyone for me.
Okay.
We'll bring you back some Chick-fil-A.
That's right. We do have a very, very busy show today. A lot to get into with Rodney Orr, the Alabama Crimson Tide, their recruiting success, the Firecracker Five that he correctly predicted. What is left for Kalen DeBoer, Courtney Morgan, and that staff to do? Could it get better? Well, it certainly can. And Rodney Orr is going to tell us how that happens. Rob Pate, Dr. Rob Pate is going to join us at 11:45. A lot to get into with Rob as well. And I would say that the state is maybe still divided in some aspects when it comes to Alabama, Auburn, and that rivalry.
It feels like yesterday, I guess last night flowing into today, and I said this morning, I feel like this Iron Bowl this upcoming season is going to be the most volatile one that we've had in the last 5 or 6 years.
Starting to feel that way.
And when you have something like a former quarterback from one of the programs making the statements that he did yesterday and the reaction that you're seeing to it right now in July, I think it just kind of shows you how antsy people are for football season, but also that Auburn fans maybe have that feeling of confidence that they haven't had the last couple of years when it comes to this season and what that game could potentially look like for them, and they're ready to break the claws out a little bit.
Those comments will tell you what they were. Were they silly? Or are they super, super wise? We'll let you decide. We'll discuss it. 3-man front here on this Thursday on Jox. $10:15, 3-man front. I was just talking with Steve, one of our great sales professionals here at Cumulus. Mixed doubles, Wimbledon. You all in? FSU Dave, I bet he is.
Sure. Yep. Who are we rooting for?
You like tennis. I know that you and your wife, you like to play.
Yeah, we play a good bit well before she hurt her hip. Yeah, we haven't been able to play in a couple of months, but yeah, we were getting into a tennis kick.
My wife played college tennis, but we don't watch that much tennis.
I watched it during COVID. I remember watching Wimbledon and some of those events, and it was actually like every time I watch tennis, I'm always like, man, this is actually pretty good. I should watch it more often, and then I don't.
I loved live sports as you did, and I'm sure Molly, maybe you were drawn to live sports as a kid. For me, it was different because you guys had the advantage of having so many different ways to consume it.
Yeah.
But when I was a kid, I was growing up, especially this time of year in the summertime, and before I could drive, I was there at the house, and you had to find things to do. And whether it was wiffle ball in the morning, going shooting baskets in the driveway, or if you actually had live sports, which was rare at that time, and we didn't have the DVR and the playback and the archive shows and stuff, you go back, you put in a VHS, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
But live Wimbledon tennis, I consumed a ton of it as a kid.
I bet, yeah. And I bet it was very entertaining, wasn't it?
It was.
Who was, so I'm trying to think, when you were growing up, who would have been?
Boris Becker.
Okay.
Yvonne Lendl. Those guys. Agassi. Graf.
Okay, I didn't know if you were behind or before
Monica
like
Seles.
Andre Agassi. So. It's a good tennis grunt.
Thank you. Yeah. Michael Chang.
That was good.
Jennifer Capriati with all of her drama. God bless her. Yeah. I even had some of the Boris Becker Nikes. They had the Boris Becker Nikes, and they had like a little bit of a dark purple in them. Yeah.
Ooh.
Was that kind of like, wow, I'm really going out there getting these?
Don't know why I got them.
Okay. Did you get compliments on them?
But I will give credit to Wimbledon. It was probably the coverage of Wimbledon. I don't know if I ever
Probably
got
so.
compliments on them. Probably got made fun of.
Probably so.
Probably threw them away at some point.
So you were like me with your fun shoes when you were growing up. You were just like me.
Yeah.
And then you grew out of it. So maybe one day I'll grow out of it too.
Yeah.
My fun shoes are my wheelies.
Yep.
Oh, I always wanted those so bad, but my mom wouldn't let me have them because she was like, you're going to hurt yourself.
Oh, I loved my wheelies.
Remember?
I wheelied down my driveway because we lived on a hill.
Yeah.
It was great.
What was the wheelie again?
The one with the heel.
It had a wheel in the shoe.
Oh, in the shoe.
wheel and the
Yeah.
heel.
Because
Yeah.
people would be, because I'm pretty sure they got banned at my middle school because too
Most
many kids
schools had
had
to
them
ban
and were
them.
like, it was causing problems.
But you could take out the wheel and like put in a little plate, so it was just a normal
Oh,
shoe.
you could have a
Yes.
normal shoe.
Yes.
Yes.
You didn't have to wheel wherever
No.
you went.
But you could.
But you could, and it
Yeah.
was
Were
awesome.
was your generation, Molly, because you're younger than Conrad, was that the light up shoes every time you step, or when did that start happening?
That was a little after me.
We had Reebok pumps, and that was a big deal.
I had those as a kid, like
The
the light
light
up
up?
shoes
Yeah.
and stuff, but not.
Oh, you're talking. Okay, I'm thinking of the ones that have like the ones that, like with the strip of lights underneath them.
Yeah.
I've seen those.
Oh, I know what you're talking
I know
about.
what you're talking about. The original light up shoes.
Yeah, like
yes.
where every time you step,
You
they
step, it would
light,
light up.
all the.
Those
yeah.
were really big when I was a kid, but I never was allowed to get any.
I had the Converse All Stars where it was clear, the Converse logo was clear, and you could take little different color cards and make you could slide in the cards.
See, I had a pair
to
of
change what
Converse,
color
and
they
the
were.
whole shoe was clear. And then, like, I would wear colored socks depending on the outfit that I would wear, and then it would like show through the shoe. So I was always matching.
Yeah.
That was that's how our baseball cleats were in high school, and that was the one thing that our coach let us kind of have some fun with is you could have all the different colors for the swoosh of the Nike on the cleats, and you would have different color plates. And so that was the one thing that we could do to be, I guess, individuals. He's like, you can pick whatever color and put it in your cleats. It'll be fine.
My
Wait,
dancing
so I had
shoes were
orange
like that, but we had to wear blue.
We were not given those liberties.
Yeah,
at
we
all.
weren't either.
I had an orange swoosh and orange batting gloves. I definitely stuck out.
In fact,
Compared to
right
everyone
before our
else.
state championship game in football, we had some guys, and we had the team issued white socks, and we wore black shoes.
Mhm.
But they decided that they were going to wear the black socks with the black shoes, and our coach straight up told them, before a state championship game, you don't take them off, you're not playing. I don't care.
Yeah, our big thing was sleeves or short sleeves in baseball season because the weather's funky here in the February. Sometimes it gets really hot.
Mm-hmm.
And so we had a rule if it was under 60 degrees, you had to wear long sleeves for stuff. And so we would always be like out there with our
Did you have the
like a
cutoff
thermometer.
the cutoff jerseys where the sleeves were gone.
We had one of those. Yeah, where you'd wear
Those
an
were
under
trendy.
thing.
Those were trendy.
We had one
towards
of
my
those.
high school years.
Yeah, we had one of those, and then two like of just the normal short sleeve jerseys.
Okay. We do have a college football coaches hot seat list, a new list. This is list season that has come out, but it kind of brings me back to something that was a hot topic on Conrad and Friends this morning on Morning Jox.
Yes, and I think it was a hot topic on Mac and Cube as well, based on what they were telling us. But if you missed it, I will share the quote for you here in just a second. But AJ McCarron went, I guess you would say, kind of went viral, at least in SEC circles yesterday, for some comments that he made on the Dynasty podcast, which he has started with Trent Richardson and Chris Stewart, who you can hear all throughout football and basketball season on three-man front. But AJ McCarron talking about recruiting, Auburn, Hugh Freeze, all of that good stuff. And this is the quote straight from the horse's mouth. This is what AJ McCarron said on the podcast yesterday. Quote, Hugh Freeze is full of blank. I think Hugh Freeze is trying to do whatever he can to save face. He's starting to feel the pressure at Auburn, going into his third year, not having the success that the alumni, boosters, everybody donating a lot of money thought that he would have by this point. I think he's trying to figure out and scramble on why they're not successful. The state of Alabama is ran by Alabama fans and Alabama alumni, whether you like it or not. He would then go on to add, whether you like it or not, I've never been one to just absolutely hate on Auburn. Hell, I've caught hell from Alabama fans for cheering for some of my friends that played for Auburn. If you are from the state of Alabama, I think it is dumb for you not to sign with the University of Alabama. Your avenue for success with life after football is a lot greater, I think, with being an ex-Alabama football player compared to Auburn.
Okay.
End quote.
There were several different things of that quote. I want to start with the last thing that he said. And
the you are dumb if you go anywhere other than Alabama comment.
Yeah, but even more, how did he finish with your chances of...
Your avenue for success with life after football is a lot greater, I think, with being an ex-Alabama football player compared to an Auburn player.
Okay. I never played at either school, but knowing, being related to people that played at both, being friends with people that played at both, I can tell you that there are vast opportunities, whether you played at Alabama, whether you played at Auburn. And by the way, if you didn't play, it's all about networking anyways.
Yeah.
Then that certainly helps. I do find it interesting, and with all due respect, AJ McCarron, could we say that probably since he could throw a football, since he could throw a baseball, he has been put on a pedestal. God gave him amazing ability to be able to do what he has done for a living for a long time. But AJ McCarron has never been in the real world.
No, I think that's fair.
As far as we define it as having a real job.
As an adult, yes, because we understand where he came from and some of the things that he may have gone, just his upbringing in the Mobile area and things like that.
He's never had to use that, quote, network because he played at Alabama. And that's credit to him, but ultimately give the glory to God. He got a lot of talent, and he's utilized it, and he's done very well. I don't want to be disrespectful, but there are opportunities at both places. There are a lot of Auburn business owners, Alabama business owners. They're not exclusive to just hiring Alabama guys or Auburn guys. Mm-hmm. They will take you because they know how much college football and sports means in the state, especially at those two institutions.
Yes, and I don't think that. If you disagree, please let me know. But I think we can all generally agree, right? If we are talking strictly about football and having an opportunity to play in the NFL, there's no comparison between Alabama and Auburn, especially over the last 20 years, right? Alabama is leaps and bounds ahead of where Auburn and pretty much every other program in the country is in terms of putting kids in the NFL.
Yeah, I mean, just stack Alabama's success up against the entire ACC.
Absolutely. They have been the gold standard for almost 20 years now when it comes to putting kids in the NFL. However, just like every other school, even a place like Alabama, at any given moment, I feel pretty confident that over 50% of your roster is not going to play in the NFL, right? As good as Alabama's talent is, as good as Georgia's talent or Texas's talent is, right? We're talking about over a 4-year period, you might have 40 kids that get drafted into the NFL, and that's a good 4-year stretch, right? That's not even half of a roster right there over a 4-year period. So even these schools at the top, to say that everybody's decision to go and play football somewhere should be based around, well, Alabama's better at putting kids in the NFL. Absolutely they are. There's a lot of kids on that roster that aren't going to play in the NFL. And I love Alabama. Everyone knows that. I love Alabama, love my time there as a student. I got a good education in what I wanted to go and do professionally, which is this, in broadcasting. But I'm not going to sit here and try to tell you that if you're going to Auburn to play football with the understanding you're not playing professional football, Auburn's definitely a better academic school than Alabama is. If you are going to be something in the medical field, you want to be a veterinarian, you want to get into agriculture, there's no comparison. You go to Auburn. And I think that's where, I don't know, just speaking in absolutes, like you're an idiot if you live in Alabama and don't commit to Alabama. There's a lot of reasons that people commit to universities outside of what the football program can do for them professionally. Granted, I understand it's a little different now with money and things like that, but where do you feel the most comfortable? What's closer to your family? Where do you feel like you're going to have the best support system around you? What school offers the best program for what major you might like to have? Those are all important factors outside of, am I going to have a chance to go into the NFL?
Well, and through high school, calling high school games, and that was well said, calling high school games, I will tell you, and so it applies to both. You had 2 5-stars that I called their games in high school, got to know, had a personal relationship with, was asked to facilitate certain things, whether it be a ride down to a visit, whatever, having those conversations, and then being asked for advice from both. I told T.D. Moultrie and I told Q Robinson, same thing. I'll tell you this. You have opportunities to go to Auburn. You have opportunities to go to Alabama. I would seriously consider those first and foremost when you think about those opportunities, life after football, as opposed to leaving the state and the unknown there. That's what I told them. Both of them chose to do that, to go in state. Didn't matter which way. I think either one, you're in good shape. You're going to have opportunities just because of that logo maybe on the helmet. And there's countless other examples. But those are 2 that I can relate to and saying, look, you're going to get a great education. You're going to be taken care of in both places. But as opposed to going to the unknown because it's flashy, going to an LSU or going somewhere else, just you're not going to have that home-based network if Alabama is ultimately the state that you're going to call home. Not saying that those opportunities aren't there. They're just, it seems like they're more readily available if you choose to stay in state. That's just a promotion for kids from this state staying in the state of Alabama.
And that's what Auburn and Alabama would like to happen, obviously, is you want to keep all of that talent here. Again, it's just I'm just not a fan of the perspective of I know what's better for you than you do because of what I went through in my experiences. And clearly it worked out for A.J. McCarron. Also, let's remember, he's on a podcast with Trent Richardson and Chris Stewart. You think he's not going to go super hard against all, obviously you're going to take your shots at, you just have to understand the context of it as well. But there's parts of it that can be right, but there's parts of it that can also be wrong. And I think at least for this part of the quote that we're talking about, I don't like the idea of telling someone what is best for them because you don't know what their situation is. You don't know what their priorities are in life. And while, yes, Alabama has been better at football than Auburn, Auburn also offers wonderful opportunities that Alabama doesn't in certain areas.
There are different thoughts in that quote. That what we addressed first, that's what I wanted to get out of the way, and that's not even the
No, that's not even the recruiting bit that everyone got fired up about.
No. The other stuff, which I think is worthy of a discussion and a conversation. We'll get to the other part of that next as we continue here on 3-Man Front on Jox. 10:32, three-man front, Landrum, Conrad, and Molly. Opportunities. More opportunities if you go to Auburn or if you go to Alabama or play there in particular. Breaking down some of what former Alabama quarterback A.J. McCarron said. Really good text, though. And this one came on the text line, 205-834-9450. And this is very true. Not even 30 years ago, which this listener points out, 30 years ago, certainly it was the case for a high school kid staying here in the state of Alabama, and you got the choice, Auburn or Alabama, you go to either one, but your opportunities after football, they're going to be there because of that network in most cases. And you're going to have maybe, fair or unfair, more of an opportunity to land a job because of those connections in certain instances and make a decent living after football.
Well, it's where we go back to the joke of, Stetson Bennett was going to be really good at selling car insurance in Georgia, right? Because if he wanted to do that, he probably would, but he seriously probably would have made a lot of money doing that.
NIL has probably altered that a good bit.
Probably.
The transfer portal.
And I hadn't thought about that angle, honestly.
Yeah.
No. Not that there weren't shady dealings for guys to go out of state and other places, but you had a kid just this past year, a 5-star, I'm trying to remember his name. He was a talented kid from Parker that went to Oregon.
This last year?
Yeah.
Offered.
Thank you. Got a very lucrative deal.
Mm-hmm.
A super lucrative deal to go there. Now, you're conservative with your money. You do that, then all of a sudden maybe and he might be an NFL guy he might be a Hall of Famer.
He's pretty
saying
good.
You're smart with the money. If it's $1 million, $1.5 million, or you have a $250,000 to $500,000 nest egg once you leave school, maybe a different situation.
Yeah, and I think that's a great perspective. Again, I'd never thought about it that way, but yeah, it does. I know I don't think this is a secret or anything, but for a long time, Tyrone Prothro worked at the Regions Bank in Tuscaloosa, right? That was his thing, and people knew, like, hey, if you want to go, you can go inside and talk to Tyrone Prothro, and he wanted to be a part of that community, and he got an opportunity to go and make a living for himself after that. But it's, yeah, I think a lot of these kids, I was telling you, before we came back from break, right? I'm not going to be surprised if 5 years down the line you hear a story of, some guy that made a couple $100,000 in NIL and was really smart with investing, and he's now turned that into $5 million or $10 million. And you have these stories of people that, through financial literacy, they're able to create a comfort for themselves for the rest of their lives off of NIL.
Well, there have been players at Alabama and Auburn, and I know for a fact, and I'm not going to say any names, but maybe they did have a brief NFL career, but they had a great college career. And after any playing opportunities had dried up, they were hired by big companies here in this state, and they were basically the face. And a lot of the stuff that they did was philanthropy, whether it was the company needing you to go talk to a civic group, or you to be the face of the company at a golf course in a meet and greet. And you're on the payroll, and that is a beautiful job.
It is. I will say this, though. There's also the I guess it's a double-edged sword in some scenarios, because we talked about this, I think, earlier this year with somebody like an Isaiah Bond, for example, right? That's somebody that what happened and with the Gravedigger play against Auburn, that's the kind of thing you could, I'm not saying you could live off that for the rest of your life, but you understand, you would have opportunities to be around Alabama, do events, things like that, because people are going to want to go, I remember the Gravedigger play, right? But then you transfer out, you leave all that goodwill behind, and you go somewhere else, and now you don't have a home at all. And so that's kind of where it's like the middle ground of, yes, you can get more money up front, but 20 years down the line, are you going to want to have a school that you feel like is home, that you can go back to and be part of that community? Or do you just want to be the rogue transfer that goes to 4 different schools in 4 years?
Right.
So give and take.
Alan texts in and says, I would say that Rob Pate and Stan White are doing pretty well for themselves. Yeah, they are.
Mm-hmm.
Stan with a very successful insurance agency.
And Rob's the king of frozen yogurt.
Well, that, and he's an eye doctor.
I know.
Not that those guys wouldn't have had success doing it in other places, but it certainly helped in having that name.
Absolutely.
And people remembering that you played for their school.
It carries a lot of weight, especially in this state.
Max weighing in and saying that Ben Tamburello, who played at Auburn, outstanding player. He could have played anywhere, went to Auburn. He's in the Alabama Sports Hall of Fame, played pro ball for 3 years, owned an insurance agency in Montgomery, now sells real estate here in Birmingham. Good friend of mine. Yep, here's another good example.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the list goes on, especially if you go back. I mean, you can go back as few as just a couple of years. But I do think it's a very interesting point that the listener brought up about NIL and the transfer portal and how that's kind of shifted maybe the mindset for some of these guys. But not everybody's getting a $1.5 million offer to go to school X and get a shoe deal.
Well, and it's, I think in some of these cases, right, everyone has a price for things, right? Mine's $100. Some other people's price is, $100,000. And so if that is an offer that's made to you, maybe you're willing to make some concessions on, hey, I really feel drawn to this school, but I think this is going to help my family maybe pay off a house or something. And that's the other thing. There's just so many different circumstances now.
There are exceptions to the rule. Phillip Rivers played at Athens, went to NC State, and he did pretty well for himself.
Worked out very well.
But
you're absolutely correct.
He also was not in the breadline or updating his resume and going, hey, I'd like to apply here. He didn't have to.
No, he did not. He's still doing quite well.
A lot like A.J. McCarron. He didn't have to.
Mm-hmm.
He was playing in Protective Stadium just last year.
No, you're absolutely right. But I appreciate the texter sending in that angle, because I feel like there's just a lot of interesting angles. And I think a lot of it, too, is just, it's kind of an interesting conversation, this new landscape of college football that we have, because this is stuff that never really had to think about before.
This one rolls in. David and Pelham says, thoughts and comments like this is exactly why AJ got spanked by Daddy Saban on live TV. Forgot about the spanking.
Yeah.
I was going to ask the group ones. Never mind. Doesn't matter. Just yesterday?
What was... Were you answering for yourself, or were you?
Did you get a spanking, or did you get the belt from your parents?
Neither. I was a good kid.
You see how I turned that around?
Yeah. No, I got
I know
the
you were,
spanking.
Molly.
Yeah, never the belt. I got spankings though. No belt.
Yeah, the belt, that was more my era.
Yeah, I think by the time that
Mom had a red J.C. Penney belt.
Well, it's just interesting.
She was wild with that thing. She gets you on the hand. She gets you on the calf.
Oh.
Well, it really is a generational thing, because, okay, so you got the belt.
She'd always miss the butt, but she'd hit everywhere else that hurt.
We got, I guess people my age, like me and my friends, like we all got spanked by your parents. And now, like when I talk with my wife and she's like, well, when we have kids, like, would you discipline them that way? And I'm like, that's how I grew up. I turned out okay. And she's like, I don't think we should do that. And I'm like, whatever, that's a discussion that we can have, but it's crazy how we've gone from hitting your child with a belt because they did something wrong to now it's, oh no, we can't do anything. Can't discipline them like that.
Let me tell you, I think that there's different methods, different parents, and however you choose to raise your child, it's your child. Not saying that one way is right and one way is wrong. I know for Landrum, it was very effective if it only had to happen a couple of times. Like my grandfather, my dad, yeah. It only had it. There weren't like, oh golly, we got to do this again. They were memorable.
See, I was about to say, I was like you, and I'm obviously not as painful, I don't think, but I messed up one time. I got punished for it. I wasn't making that mistake again. But at the same time, and this I don't know how many places still do this, but like when I was growing up, I got paddled in school. Was that a thing when you were growing up?
Paddling was in my elementary school, yes.
Wow,
and
that
which
was
was
not a
interesting
thing for me.
and not
yeah.
related.
I got
but
paddled in high school.
And my mom taught at the school, and the principal, he had inherited this paddle, but he had a paddle. And I knew kids that got paddle. But
you drill holes in it?
Yep, had the holes drilled in it.
Yep.
But
in
magic marker, it said Roberts on there. So the principal that gave it to him, his last name was Roberts.
Oh, that's perfect.
Oh, okay.
But it said Roberts, and that was, yeah.
Did you ever get paddled?
No.
I never got paddled, but
No.
my ballet teacher had a stick.
My mom taught at the school,
yardstick.
Yeah.
at the elementary school. So I had acted up in class or somewhere,
Mm-hmm.
and we got to lunch, and you had the combined classes lunch, and my mom was taking her class out of the lunchroom. She had heard teacher passing by, hey, Landrum today. She snatched me up under my arm. I dropped my tray, and everybody in the lunchroom stopped and turned.
That was the worst punishment right there. Just
The
public embarrassment.
absolute worst punishment ever.
Public embarrassment.
And then poor old Miss Gwen, she was there in the lunch line. She had She literally had a cigarette, but she made some really
Get some
good
ash
food.
on your pizza, your rectangle pizza.
Yeah. Made the gravy taste better on steak and gravy day. It wasn't really steak, but
It's something.
yeah, she was like, come here, baby. Oh, mom didn't even want me to eat. Yeah, she was.
That was your punishment? No food?
Here's what's great. Mom would raise, but she would never, ever, ever think about doing that to one of her students.
Well,
just me.
It's different with you.
Yeah.
It was.
See, I wasn't a bad kid. I was just an energetic kid. So I would just run around the house and I just wanted to play all day, which is why, and I would like climb on things. So that's why my mom had to put me in gymnastics when I was like 3.
I was about to say, you
So
were
I could just
born
go
for
tumble and climb and yeah.
it. You were born for it.
We have, and I knew that we could do this. We have opened up just an array of different things that we could talk about. We got a ton of texts coming in on the Jox text line, 205-834-9450. We continue here on what is right now a glorious Thursday on Jox. Ten 10:47, a Thursday. We got an active text line. We'll get to your text. That is a great way to interact with the show. We appreciate folks Newly on board there in Jox Mobile, our friends in Montgomery. They're on Jox 740, also on the wherever you listen, the Jox app, where you can take with you wherever you go, including the Alabama Gulf Coast, where Pat and his family are right now. Oh, by the way, I got a report. So absolutely beautiful, beautiful place.
Well, good.
That they are renting from
Wonderful.
Mike Griffith. So I didn't expect anything different, but yeah, firsthand reports. Pat said it was great.
Very good.
Well, good. Well, the Alabama heat and humidity can be brutal, but don't let it affect your home and family. Keep them comfortable with an affordable Train cooling system. They've been recognized as America's most trusted brand for 11 consecutive years, and they're the official cooling partner here at Jox. So go and find a comfort specialist near you at train.com.
All right, Conrad, we got the text line is open. We will get to those once again. If you want to interact, we were talking about, it was AJ McCarron's comments, and then it has spawned into paddling. And
a lot of things.
How to punish and raise your child.
Yes, we somehow got from
which we're open
one
for
to
today.
the other.
Yeah.
And the same segment. Which
we got Rodney Orr coming up the top of the hour.
I think it's honestly pretty impressive that we were able to do that. But yes, as Landrum said, 205-834-9450 get you on the courtesy GMC text line. We also were talking about, I don't know how we got on this, but light up shoes or something like that.
Mm-hmm. Wimbledon.
Wimbledon, that's right. So somebody chimes in. They say, Landrum, the lights in the shoes came from our generator. We're the same age, but LA Gear came out with them.
Oh, yeah.
So there was LA Gear and LA Tech?
Yep.
Were those competing brands, I guess?
I guess. I do remember AC Green had the LA Gear. Who else endorsed the LA Gear? Doesn't matter. But yeah, LA Gear. That's a good call.
Someone else, Josh from Boaz, he chimes in. He says, it was always a wait for your dad to get home kind of punishment when I was younger. I think everyone's probably heard that one at least once in their life. I will say my mom, being an assistant principal for the majority of her professional life, she knew, she just had a tone and a look of anger and disappointment that I've just never seen before. And it was... That one always scared me more than my dad did, honestly. Let's see, Landrum.
Yeah, don't go with that one.
No.
Wasn't about me, but
no,
don't go that one.
No, I will not. Let's see, somebody chimes in. They say, Landrum, I had your mother as my first grade teacher at Shades Cahaba.
Yep.
Very cool. Very cool.
She taught a lot of my buddies and friends. It was always a compliment. They were always like, "Yeah, your mom was my favorite teacher." And I'm like, "Why is she seems so mean to me?"
She seems so mean.
Is she mean to you?
I was fortunate. I only went to my mom's school for 1 year, and it was when I was in kindergarten.
That's right. Your mom's teacher.
Yeah, so I only had to deal with that for 1 year. But when you're 5, it's kind of cool that your mom's the assistant principal. And I had friends that, as we got older, their parents were teachers, and they were not fans of that. They did not enjoy that.
Almost the time of year. Isn't it amazing how soon kids go back to school now?
Oh, no, it's like 3
because
weeks
we would do it
from
at
now.
the end of August, and I can remember late in the summer that was dreadful. That was going back to school clothes and shoes shopping, and I told you Mom would not let me wear the new shoes until the first day of school or the new clothes. But I would be helping her we'd have to go up to the school and decorate her room.
Oh yeah, I had to do that with my mom.
Did you ever do that?
Oh yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, I remember one of the bigger changes in my life was because if you didn't know this, in different parts of the country, kids go back to school at different times and get out of school at different times. So I lived in Virginia for a few years. And I remember when we moved up there, it was awesome because we had lived here. So we got done with school in middle of May, late May. And you don't start school until middle or late September up there.
Oh, wow.
At that time. So I got a super long summer vacation. Unfortunately, a couple years later when we moved back here, I got out of school.
You got the condensed?
Yeah, I got out of school in June, moved back here, and I had like a month of vacation before it was time to go back to school.
Yeah, but you were super smart.
That exact same thing happened to me when we moved to Michigan and then back south to Tennessee.
Yep.
Because in Michigan, they start after Labor Day.
Yep.
And then, but you would get out like early mid-June. And so it was the same thing. You know, we moved up there and I was like, oh, I get a long summer.
Well, now, though, that they get the winter break, the whatever break.
You get the midwinter break.
I was going to say, we got a fall break, we got a winter break, we got a spring break.
Mental day, virtual learning. I mean, they get all kinds of stuff.
Teacher work days. Yes.
Oh, those were my favorite.
Those were the best.
Yeah.
Let's see. Justin chimes in. He says, Joe Montana. I guess Joe Montana was LA Gear. Was that he one of the spokespeople for them? I
If
guess
Justin
that's what,
says that he was. I believe him.
we will take Justin. We will take your word for it, Justin. Let's see. Drake chimes in. He says, "Guys, I remember and will never forget. I was in the 4th grade and I got in trouble. My teacher called my mom and she had to come or get off of work to come pick me up. I see my mom peek her head through the door, call the teacher into the hallway. They both come back in the classroom. And I remember the teacher telling all the kids to scoot their desks back. And my mom whipped me in front of the class. I never got in trouble again after that."
Ooh.
So your mom came up to the school and spanked you or hit you with a belt or whatever in front of the class. Now that would be embarrassing. Like as a kid, that's
Drake, that's so tough for you, but
Ooh.
I can appreciate it, and I love your mom for doing that.
well. And as he said, he never got in trouble again. I was about to say that'll absolutely put you in your place real quick. Someone says I grew up with a mom raising 4 boys, and instead of a belt, we got a wiffle ball bat. That was those would hurt.
Oh, that would hurt.
That would hurt.
That would sting a little bit.
Goodness.
No
Yeah.
doubt about it.
My grandmother would use a hairbrush,
Oh,
and let me tell you,
a wooden one.
yeah,
Oh man.
Ugh. That would hurt. Did you ever have like a wooden spoon or anything like that? That
no,
I've heard of
it was
people having
the
that.
hairbrush was the thing. My meemaw, she'd say go get a switch. That was like 1 or 2 times, but of course you go get like a little twig.
Yeah, so you're not going out there getting a big old branch or anything. Let's see. Greg in Athens, he chimes in. He says, "I teach in Pulaski, Tennessee, and our teachers go back 2 weeks from today."
I believe it.
It is soon. I like it personally because it makes traffic here way better going to from work because you don't have to worry about that school traffic that's right down the road. I definitely enjoy that. And this one coming in from Montgomery, they chime in. They say, "Belt, hairbrush, switch, paddle, hand, anything within reach was used as I was growing up." And there's probably a few people out there that can relate to that.
They took the Lynn approach. It was usually J.C. Penney belt, but
I just love that remember specifically it was a J.C. Penney belt.
yep, it was J.C. Penney belt. It was that red one. I tried to hide it from her. She'd find it. She would find it. But
Where
she
would
was
you
just
hide
she
it?
was a wild swinger. I'm telling you, man. I learned it's just better to just stay put, don't move around, don't start dancing because
Then you never know what's going to get. Yeah.
no, then it's potluck punishment. Catch one on the love handle. And unfortunately, other places too.
Yeah, that's what I was worried about.
And you know what? It was always my fault if you would stay still. Rodney Orr,
At least you have self-awareness.
Tider Insider. We're going to talk recruiting and other things with Rodney. He joins us next here on 3-Man Front on Jox, JoxFM.com, and the Jox app. And don't forget about Jox TV. 11 o'clock, 3-man front here on this Thursday. Lands from Conrad and Molly. A lot of your texts, first hour of conversation. We got into it. Then it got into sneakers as a kid, and then paddling, and how you were maybe punished by your parent, your guardian, loved one, or administrator, teacher.
We've had a lot to talk about this morning.
It takes a village to raise a child. That's what they say.
That's what they say.
A lot of interesting comments there. We'll get back to your text. Want to remind you, if you're looking for a pontoon boat this summer, it's not too late. Poorhouse Branch Marina at Smith Lake is the only dealer on the lake to have the Avalon pontoons. There's Avalon pontoons. They're known for their luxury, comfort, and performance. You pair it with the most fuel-efficient engine on the water from Honda Marine. Poorhouse Branch Marina at Smith Lake also has the Tahoe pontoons, ready for family fun. Get it today with the in-house financing. See it all at PoorhouseBranchMarina.com. Rodney Orr of Tider Insider joining us, and lots to talk about with Rodney. He joins us, as all of our guests do, on the Higginbotham Hotline. Rodney, how are you?
Man, I'm doing great. I hear you talking about sneakers as a kid.
Yeah.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Did I hear that right?
Yeah.
So back in the early 70s, the thing was to wear those high-top Converse.
Right. Like the Chuck Taylors?
Yeah, I mean, you'd wear those. I mean, those things were really popular. And you'd get colored shoestrings for them.
You get the
Or
color.
whatever colors, you know. Yeah, that was the thing.
The Chuck.
Some people would put two, like red and blue in, each shoe.
Yeah.
So, yeah, so you'd actually look red, white, and blue, or green and whatever, just various colors. But that was the real popular thing, at least in South Texas back in the day.
Well, the Chuck Taylors, they were still around. They weren't the most popular, probably, Converse for my age group in the 80s and 90s, Rodney. But I do remember that Converse came out, and they had the canvas shoe.
Yep.
But you could roll them down from the top, and they would have another color on the inside.
Now, I don't remember the other color, but yes, I remember, exactly what you're saying.
So you could wear them inside out?
Yeah, well, it would be like cuffing up your jeans, and the inside of the it was the tongue. Okay, thank you.
Okay, gotcha.
Molly. But yeah, just kind of going back to that, and then how many times people got paddled in school, or the belt.
I remember those.
Yeah. What was the go-to for Rodney Orr? I'm sure you never got in trouble.
Oh no. I stayed in trouble.
Were you
learn the hard way?
Were you numb to the belt? Was that the preferred method of punishment?
They used to make those paddles, and the back then, they send you to the principal's office. There wasn't any question about that. It's just how many licks are you going to get?
Yeah.
And they had those paddles with the holes in them. I mean, they had holes in them. I guess because with the holes in them, when he would swing, the air would go through, so he could hit you a little harder.
That's exactly what it was.
We got popped pretty good.
Yeah. I tell you what, you talk about spanking your competitors on the recruiting trail. That's exactly what Rodney, Kalen DeBoer, and Courtney Morgan and that entire staff are doing. Your Firecracker 5, as predicted, we expected nothing else, but they have all landed there at Alabama. Alabama right now, I know that there is still work left to do, but kind of summarize some of those guys that, since we visited last, have committed to Alabama and what that potentially means as far as immediate impact.
Yeah, so I think last week when we talked, we probably discussed Cedarian Morgan and his commitment on, it was on, I guess we covered that. But obviously, anyway, we'll recap it real quickly. One of the top receivers in the country. Some people think the number one receiver down at Benjamin Russell, 6'4", 210 pounds. It's obviously a really big pickup for Alabama overall. It kind of fits what they want to do in terms of getting big receivers who have the ability to stretch the field. So that was a big pickup. And then I don't think we got a chance to cover Nolan Wilson on July 4th with his commitment. That was obviously a big pickup for Alabama from Pecune, Mississippi, a defensive lineman, which, I think this defensive line class has come along in a pretty solid fashion. Could probably use another one, but he's a guy, 6'4", 250, 6'3", 250. He's got a frame to fill out. So it's a really big pickup over Auburn and Ole Miss and Miami. And then Jaira Edwards, the 5-star safety. He was actually the last Firecracker 5 member waiting to commit, and he picked Alabama on the 5th. out of Baltimore, St. Francis Academy, one of the top 2 or 3 safeties in the country. Again, really physical guy, makes a lot of plays, had a ton of tackles last year. Again, that was obviously some really big pickups that they had there, and now we're just kind of waiting for the stretch run here to see how it kind of unfolds.
So, Rodney, before we get into who else might be out there, I know Tank Jones is somebody that I've asked you a couple of times about, and we can get into that. But with these guys that just committed, there was a good story that our friend Nick Kelly put up on AL.com yesterday, but I just wanted to get your thoughts on this narrative that seemed to be going around social media that the reason Alabama was recruiting at such a high level recently was because of Nick Saban. And then we have this article coming out yesterday that pretty much details, hey, he was there for one weekend. I believe it was the weekend of Keelan Russell's sister's funeral, where a lot of the staff was in Mississippi attending that. So Nick Saban helped out with recruiting. But we've even started to have moms like Xavier Griffin's mother come out and give credit to Kalen DeBoer and his staff for getting the commitment, not Nick Saban. So does that align with kind of what you've heard, that maybe Nick Saban was there for that one weekend, but he hasn't been a major factor in what Alabama's doing on the recruiting trail this offseason?
Yeah, 100%. I mean, that was, a really good story by Nick Kelly. But I think, first of all, it's for some reason nobody wants to give Kalen DeBoer any credit. When he got here, they said he wouldn't be able to recruit, and he did a fantastic job holding that first recruiting class together, putting together a number 3 class last year. And I think then all of a sudden the narrative was he wasn't going to be able to recruit in the state, and he's doing a really good job of that, obviously, right now.
Mm-hmm.
I think there's some that are trying to give credit to Saban for that.
But did Nick Saban retire because he couldn't recruit anymore, Rodney? I thought that's what they were saying a year ago.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, again, they want to give him all the credit for E.J. Croyle and Cedarian Morgan and the in-state guys that they're recruiting. But the truth is that what you said, I think, obviously the coaches, DeBoer had to leave town for a period of time that weekend. And then, Saban was here, did talk to those in-state players that we mentioned. And as far as him closing the deal, no. And I don't think he's had much influence at all. In terms of the recruiting, from the standpoint of being actively involved. Now, maybe in some other ways, it's certainly set the stage, but no, he hasn't been actively involved in recruiting.
Not that I'm not tying this anyway directly to the recruiting efforts and the results that Kalen DeBoer has gotten, but news coming out of Big 12 Media Days with the House settlement and these the newly defined rules that everyone is kind of unclear on. And if the college coaches are unclear on them, I would guess that, Rodney, you're not super clear on them. I just want to ask, from your conversations with whether it's the high school kids, the people that you talk to in those networks, people there on the staff within Tuscaloosa, how tough has it been to navigate some of these things? Because I'm seeing where Ross Dellinger reporting that the College Sports Commission issued another memo to D1 ADs yesterday to further offer guidance on NIL deals, and it notes that most deals have not been cleared and do not meet the, quote, valid business purpose definition, and many of those from collectives. How tough is that from your understanding?
Well, I think it probably is very difficult, but at the same time, I think, too, give a little credit to Greg Byrne here, because I think he's had a really good grasp of this from the start, and, certainly relays the information to Kalen DeBoer, and, I'm sure they've had powwows and sat down and how are we going to attack this in a way. And again, I just have to kind of say I've kind of sensed that Greg Byrne has been on top of this from the very beginning. So maybe in terms of just how many issues or what kind of issues it's caused Alabama, I'm not really sure that there's been a lot of lack of clarity in terms of them not knowing how to approach this, not have a plan prepared for this. And I think, they've kind of been in the loop, I guess the best that you can be. And again, it goes back to Greg Byrne. From what I've, kind of heard, sensed, and all of this, that's kind of the way I would respond to that.
Rodney Orr of Tighter Insider joining us here on Three Man Front on the Higginbotham Hotline. So a big topic as well, Rodney, has been Auburn and how their recruiting has gone, and clearly not going as well as Alabama's lately. But we heard some interesting comments from Hugh Freeze and their athletic director, John Cohen, last week. And they pretty much were insinuating that, hey, they're kind of taking a back seat in recruiting right now because they believe that a lot of programs out there are making false promises to these kids. They don't really know what they're doing in terms of the house settlement. And so Auburn has this belief that they seem to be recruiting the right way, and a lot of other people aren't. I'm not saying they're talking about Alabama or any other SEC school specifically, but is there anything that you have heard about Alabama's recruiting that would give you pause and say, whoa, wait a second, maybe they did jump the gun a little bit, or maybe they don't have a great grasp on this, and Auburn could be onto something?
Well, not me. I mean, not as far as it relates to Alabama. I've heard nothing that would indicate that. Again, I think that Greg Byrne did a fantastic job of kind of having a plan, and with Kalen DeBoer and Courtney Morgan and the way they wanted to attack it, approach it. So I haven't heard anything in that regard. Really difficult for me to comment on what Auburn is doing or where the confusion lies, because I'm not really sure. So I want to be careful what I say there. Now, I will be honest with you. When I say that is because I have posted this on Tighter Insider, and you step back, and I may be totally wrong here, so forgive me. But as I look at it, I just sensed in those comments that perhaps I don't want to say somebody was asleep at the wheel, or maybe they were, but it just seems like that out of all these schools that are doing it a certain way, that maybe Auburn really struggled with clarity on how they wanted to do it. And I don't know if they're just a step or two behind, or maybe they're on to something that nobody else was on to. Mm-hmm. But it's going to be really interesting to see how it plays out for them.
It certainly will be. There's plenty of time left, and I know Courtney Morgan said, "Hey, you got to keep these guys till December." But let's go ceiling here for this Alabama recruiting class. I know it seems like that Kalen DeBoer has secured the commitment of all of the great high school football players, but there are still some out there, some committed to other schools, some undecided. Potentially, how good could this class be?
Well, I think if we want to say in terms of the rankings right now, I think it's going to be interesting, because there are still some, like you mentioned, key targets out there. Conrad mentioned Tank Jones is a possibility. He's a 5-star player out of Mobile. See what happens there. Obviously, Texas A&M's in there very strongly, as well as Oregon with Alabama. So that could have a great impact on the class overall. I know that there's a report someone posted on my board this morning that, obviously Kevin Ford out of Duncanville, Texas, he's been in the mix for a while. I mean, he visited here earlier back in June, and, with the presence of Keelan Russell, you always knew that Alabama could be a factor, and it looks like perhaps they will be tomorrow when he announces his decision. And again, he's a 4-star edge player out of Duncanville, Texas. So, that certainly could have an impact. But I tell you, Conrad and Landrum, really what I think, too, could potentially boost Alabama up to maybe challenge if they land a couple of more guys. Don't forget now another quarterback, too, possibly Taden Kawa out of Orem, Utah. He's another one. He's a 4-star rated player. Get another offensive tackle, regardless of who it might be. I know they're in on a couple of guys. Wilson Zirer from Rabun Gap, Georgia, and then also Bear Fretwell from over in Brooklet, Georgia. Those are a couple of guys that you can keep an eye on. But I would say this is where I think Alabama could, if they get a couple of those guys, where they could really step up is, I think some of the guys they have committed, like J.J. Finch, 3-star defensive lineman out of Indianapolis, I think he's got potentially could take a big jump in the rankings. I think possibly Brian Williams Jr., the wide receiver out of Florida, who is a 3-star rated player, I think he could potentially take a big jump in the rankings, and maybe more. Maybe Owen Cabell out of Nashville is a 3-star rated player. You could see him make a move. So how much do those guys jump? I mean, if we're speaking about it from strictly a ranking standpoint, if those guys make the jumps and they get a couple of the ones that we mentioned, then all of a sudden you're talking, right now, what are they, 4 or 5, whatever the rankings are, they could certainly challenge, I think, potentially to be close to that number 1 ranking.
So before we let you get out of here, Rodney, I did want to turn the attention a little bit to what we're going to see this fall. with the 2025 version of the Alabama Crimson Tide. And one area that I think a lot of people are excited about and confident about is the secondary. And I have heard and read some things. It seems that there's a name turning heads in camp or over the summer for Alabama, and that might be one Dre Kirkpatrick Jr. So what can you tell us about what you've heard about him and the kind of impact that he might be able to have on this team even this year potentially?
Yeah, because we've been, kind of talking about him earlier, and then we always knew he was in the mix. I spoke to someone yesterday about him. That secondary returning basically four starters, two at safety with Hubbard and Sabb, and then also the corners, Damani Jackson and Zabian Brown. And, the question kind of is who's going to be that Husky player? Used to be called the star in Nick Saban's system, but that nickelback. And, there's several potential opportunities there that they have with whether it's Cam Calhoun, if they plug him in there, or Deshaun Jones. But Drake Kirkpatrick is a guy that his name came up really prominently yesterday. As Mitch, he's gotten bigger. He's close. He's gotten taller. He's a little taller than what he's 6 feet tall. He's a solid 205 plus. He's really a playmaking type guy. Makes a ton of plays. A really instinctive player, smart. He has the bloodlines. Obviously, it comes naturally to him, and he's a guy that watch out come August camp. I think Dre has put in a really hard summer, and he's got the right mindset. So he could be a guy that come, the opener against Florida State, there's some thought that he might be that guy at that Husky position.
Rodney, would you prefer to have it this way, the way that it's playing out in this recruiting cycle so far for Kalen DeBoer and your coverage of it there at Tighter Insider, to have this many commitments, this many stars next to those names here in the middle of the summer? Or do you like it really dragging out until the fall when you have absolutely nothing to do? I'm kidding.
No, this was good. I actually like this.
I can imagine.
It's now I will say this, Landrum, and I know you go back a ways too. I mean, you followed it for years.
Yeah.
It was a lot of fun in January back in the day.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of following the visits and leading up to National Signing Day in early February. It kind of linked the end of the season to spring practice a little bit. But those days are gone, man. I mean, those days are gone, and most of this stuff is getting done in June and July now.
I mean, now we got NIL in high school, and it's a whole new world. We're just going to have to get used to it, right? But that's fine.
Make the adjustment.
Yeah, for sure. Bring the Chuck Taylors back. Maybe they're still there. Rodney, we always appreciate the time. Thank you so much, and we will talk to you next week as we're live from Atlanta and SEC Media Days.
All right, guys. Look forward to it. Take care.
You as well. Rodney Orr, Tighter Insider on the Higginbotham Hotline. You deserve solutions that are built for you. Higginbotham is your one-source solution for insurance, financial, and HR services. Some takeaways from what Rodney just told us. Rob Pate at 11:45. Plenty more to go here on the Thursday edition of Three Man Front. So glad you're with us on Jox. 11:20. Great visit with Tider Insider's Rodney Orr. He joins the show every single Thursday, reviewing the Firecracker 5 that he had for Alabama recruiting. Those all came to fruition, and just discussing with Rodney the potential of this class. But I mean, Conrad, from what he said, there's still some big dogs out there, and this Alabama staff might not be done. It is very interesting, though, because he's very careful with how he said it, but what he said about Greg Byrne and having a good handle on the house settlement and moving forward as far as dealing with third-party collectives, revenue, and all of that. So that should at least, if there was any concern with Alabama fans, which I haven't seen very much, it should put those who are concerned at ease moving forward that
probably going to be okay.
Yeah, you're going to be fine.
Well, and I think the common belief, at least from a lot of what I've seen on social media and talking to, my friends and things like that is, hey, could Greg Byrne be wrong? Could all of these schools be wrong? And Auburn has figured this out and they are ahead of the 8 ball while everyone else is actively hurting themselves. Yeah, I mean, that's a possibility that's on the table, but everything that I've heard about Greg Byrne and his understanding of the house settlement and his transitioning Alabama into this new era of college athletics has been incredibly positive. And it would be hard for me to believe that someone that is in such a position as Greg Byrne as the athletic director at the University of Alabama would be allowing people to go and throw money at players that they know may not exist in 3 weeks. I just find that very hard to believe.
I've just maintained that if 134 other programs are operating in that way and you're the lone program that's not doing it, then I would say that
maybe you should just join everyone else.
Doesn't, if it's a right or wrong thing, if that's where you're going to base, what you should do, fine. But if everybody else is operating in the gray area, I would probably, with the cutthroat nature of recruiting and roster retention and securing commitments from high-profile prospects, I would probably operate in that gray area as well.
I think that,
again, doesn't make it right, but it doesn't necessarily make it wrong.
Yes, from a moral standpoint, there may be things that you do not necessarily agree with, but unfortunately, I think some of those things have to go by the wayside if you want to work in college football and college athletics.
Let's not pretend that college athletics, especially college football, was lily white and pure before NIL got here.
Well, I was about to say, the whole morality discussion, it's comical, right?
Because it's super shady and super sleazy. And that will continue as we predicted it would.
It'll never go
even
away.
though you have, it's in black and white. Here's the P&L sheet. This is how much we're paying Johnny. This is how much we're paying this guy. It's fine, but you're going to find ways to circumvent the system. Whether it's in college football, other areas of business, there are folks that are going to operate in that way.
Yeah, can you believe they were just handing out these high-rise penthouses? We got it for free, so we figured we'd help out one of our players who needed somewhere to live, so it just kind of worked out. Some things work, those are the kinds of things that you'll find. The loopholes will be found, and they will be used.
Or like, hey, you need a new truck, you need a new car, SUV. How about our friends at Dobbs Ford? They're right there on Parkway East. You can check them out today. Alabama's largest showroom selection of the F-150s, the Explorers, the Broncos, the Mustangs, the Expeditions. You're going to get their best price. They'll beat any competitor's price. You still get that Ford employee pricing, which you're going to pay what the Ford employees pay. Can't get any better than that. And also 90 days until your first payment. But also at Dobbs, they have a new addition to their service, a mobile service van that will come to you at home, school, or work. And from oil changes, filter changes, to a tire rotation, brakes, and so much more, they make it easy for you. They can even service multiple vehicles at a time, Conrad, which is really big. Why come and just service
Can they change
one of the
a tire?
cars? They can change a tire. This is why I'm directing this right at you. They can help you. Just one of the perks of doing business with our friends at Dobbs Ford. They are fantastic, salt of the earth people. Go and see for yourself. Tell the Goshians and the entire team at Dobbs that Landrum said hello. You can book now, 205-854-2222, dobbsfordbirmingham.com. Always tell them Landrum from Jox sent you.
Well, we head back to the courtesy GMC text line, 205-834-9450 for a really just a myriad of topics. We spent a lot of time talking about A.J. McCarron, and we'll get back to that later on in the show if you missed it. But some of his comments about not only Hugh Freeze and Auburn's recruiting, but essentially calling out anybody that chooses to not go to the University of Alabama from the state said they were dumb. So a lot of
the state is
to
run
that.
by all Alabama grads.
Absolutely, according to A.J. McCarron, that is correct. But we also talked a lot about our fashion choices as children, our favorite shoes, our light-up shoes, and how you got punished as a child. And that's been kind of the dominating topic here on the text line. So this one comes in from the great state of Alabama. Someone says, my high school PE teacher's paddle was a wooden Louisville Slugger bat cut in half from top to bottom. When he paddled you, he was always swinging for the fences.
Ooh.
Oh,
That would
gosh.
hurt. A bat? That seems way worse than a normal paddle.
Yeah.
Even with the holes drilled in it, so it gets a little more gusto.
But
on
it was
that
a
swing.
Louisville Slugger?
Yeah, I guess you just sliced it right down the middle, and the flat part on the inside, just whack them. God, that would hurt.
First of all, splintering.
That would be a
Are
concern.
you sand that thing down?
I would hope so. That definitely seems like
Why not
the
just
kind
put
of
nails
thing
in it?
I was about to. Based on some of the stories you hear from back in the day, I guess that wouldn't be the biggest.
Go medieval.
Just imagine now, this would be a national news story if there was a principal somewhere that had a Louisville Slugger bat that they used to punish the students. That's wild. That would be a national story.
Oh, yeah, it would.
Let's see. Someone chiming in, they say, I miss the old days where the signing day fax machine camera
Oh, boy.
was all the buzz. Yep. We have another text coming in.
What's she doing now?
Says, my senior year, one of my buddies got busted drinking before school. I was the office aide then. The cop showed up and his dad walked through the front door, didn't say a word, walked right up to my buddy and punched him straight in the nose, knocked him flat on his butt, turned out, walked away, and didn't say a word to his son. So kid gets busted for drinking, dad gets called up to the school, walks in, punches his son in the face, and walks out. That's
Wow.
okay. That's unique.
My daddy was a man of few words.
He was about action.
You know what, though? I had buddies that I could see their dad doing that.
Oh, absolutely. Yes. I grew up around some people that it would not shock me at all to find that out. Somebody else says, this is not how Daddy Saban taught AJ to act. If he keeps on going on, he's going to get spanked again. Yeah, we've heard we all remember that.
We were late, just to give you another Lynn story. We weren't doing anything mischievous. We were out past curfew and we got picked up, right, by the police, and they took us to the jail. They didn't book us or anything like that. They said, we're going to call your parents. Well, everybody's parents, this is before we could drive, I think. Yeah, it was, definitely. Everybody's parents came and picked them up. And my mom literally was asking the jailer if they could hold me
to teach you a lesson
in a cell until the sun came up. Yes,
it's
to
like
teach me a lesson.
Did you ever watch that show? Is it called Scared Straight or whatever it is?
Yeah,
where they
that was
take
it.
the kids to jail and scare the crap out of them. Yeah.
And I know where she got it. She got it from my great-great-grandfather, who was a judge in a particular town here in Alabama. And her brother, my uncle, when he was a kid, had done something, and they did the same thing.
Did it work?
It traumatized him.
Well, yeah, I'm sure it did. I guess it'd also be, county jail still wouldn't be good. It'd be better than prison, I guess. That would really mess you up, I think.
None of them are good.
Well, no, they're not.
Unless you're in Mayberry. You're
I wouldn't
Otis.
pick either.
Otis had it made. He could come and go as he pleased.
Another text coming in. Someone says, I got my rear end beat in the middle of a grocery store one time.
Yep.
That would not be fun.
Do you ever just stop and watch if you were at like a Walmart? It seems like Walmart's just the easy one. Like the public kid acting up.
Oh, yeah, and you're going to...
You just stop and
let's see how this situation goes.
But now you do that in public, and then you get the the helicopter, I'm not the kid's parent, but I'm going to tell you how to raise your child. You shouldn't be doing that. And then that's usually when skirmishes start.
Yeah, no, I definitely want to stay on the outskirts. And especially Paige is really, I don't know if you would say good or bad, but when we go out, like if we're going out to eat or something, she is an excellent eavesdropper. And so she'll know the drama of all the tables around us whenever we leave somewhere. And she'll be like, hey, you need to pay attention to table at your 4 o'clock. They're really going through something right now.
Yep.
It's like, oh, well, glad to have you.
Love that. All right, we'll continue with this. We got Rob Pate coming up at 11:45. We'll see if there is much concern with the recruiting efforts, or in some people's eyes, the lack thereof there for Hugh Freeze and Auburn. Other things that we will get into here on the Thursday show. 3-man front, Landrum, Conrad, and Molly. Three-man front on this Thursday. Already a great visit with Tighter Insider's Rodney Orr talking Alabama recruiting and how much better can the class be. You can find that there at the Three-Man Front podcast, joxfm.com, the Jox app, or you can go back and you can watch it on Jox TV right there on YouTube. Make it all very convenient for you.
Yeah, so today we've been talking about a number of different things, mainly A.J. McCarron and his comments about Hugh Freeze and Auburn recruiting. We also had Rodney Orr on, who told us the latest on the recruiting trail for Alabama is some more targets in mind for them after their recent hot streak here. And we've also spent a lot of time going down memory lane for a lot of you and how you were punished as children. And some of you got paddled with a Louisville Slugger bat at your high school, apparently, as we have learned today. So we will go back to the courtesy GMC text line now, 205-834-9450, because you send in the text, and we will be sure to read them, well, the ones that we can read, at least here on the air. So we will go to this text that comes in. It says, my mom or dad didn't care where we were. They would snatch either of us up right there and wear us out, whether it was in the middle of the grocery store, Walmart, a convenience store. It didn't matter. Also, my mom would tell the other parents to don't send the kid to my house if I can't whoop them for misbehaving.
See, that's very effective. The public...
Yeah, it's public humiliation. Yeah.
The public humiliation, that sets in with a kid because you know how easily you get embarrassed as a child.
Oh, everything.
It definitely set in. After the lunchroom incident I was telling you about earlier. Yep. I knew if we were in public and I behaved for the most part, but I don't know. I like to think that my parents did it the right way. Not saying that other ways are wrong, but for me in particular, my personality, looking back on it, they did it the right way.
I was about saying, I thought my parents, the way that they handled things, and they didn't use a belt or anything, but they spanked me when I was a kid, and I mean, it hurt as a kid, but again, at the same time, I mean, I responded to that because I understood, hey, I really messed up. I'm not going to do that again.
I knew with certain members of my family, it was not empty threats.
Yes.
And then there was that one member of my family that I had learned from maybe cousins or other people, like never going to go there. Never even get close to being in that situation where he has to pull out the belt.
See, that's what's got me in trouble in high school is I had a teacher like that, and I thought, oh, he's cool. I can push this pretty far and never get in trouble. And I did push too far one day, and then I got paddled. And I was like, okay, well, we found the line, and we crossed the line. Oh, yeah. Yep. In front of the whole class. It was something.
Really?
Yep. Oh, yeah. I made a smart comment, and he was normally cool with that stuff, and I guess he was having a bad day, and that was that.
I'm thinking about where you went to high school, where I went to high school, it was different. And not that one makes it right or the other, but they had basically, by the time that I had gotten to high school, which would have been early-ish 90s, maybe closer to mid-90s, there was no longer that kind of punishment that was offered.
Yeah,
it was in-school suspension, out-of-school suspension.
Yeah, and we had that too. I think that, and again, I mean, I'm glad to grow up where I did. And
it makes me proud that there were still schools doing that.
Yeah, but let's be honest, it's a smaller community. It's a little more old-fashioned. You can get away with certain things there that you couldn't around here at schools that you went to or Mountain Brook, Vestavia, that kind of thing. It probably wouldn't fly, but where I grew up, that stuff was still widely pretty acceptable. And I mean, a lot of you who have been chiming in, a lot of you who said, JJ, he chimes in, he said, my grandpa had a paddle. Mine was the first name on it, and my mom has broken 3 wooden spoons on my rear end in my lifetime. Broken them. You got to be whacking somebody to break a wooden spoon, I would think.
Bo Jackson, and I think it's in the book, but he told us about this when he sat down with us on the air when we were out the Regions a couple of years ago. And I think it was on the bow-nose bow.
You're talking about the bat?
No, but his mom got him with an extension cord.
Oh. Ooh, that would hurt.
I think she got all the siblings with the extension cord. That was her mode of operation right there.
Yeah, that one would hurt.
Yeah, we'll get to your phone calls. Let's go to Steve. He's in Birmingham. Hey, Steve, how are you?
Fine. How are you guys?
We're doing great. Thank you.
Yeah, you guys had mentioned the Scared Straight show some years ago.
Yeah.
Well, in 1975 or 76, the Jefferson County Sheriff's Department actually participated in the Scared Straight program.
Really?
And I was a bad kid, so I got sent through that program. And they actually locked me up in the Jefferson County Jail and then transported me to Kilby Penitentiary.
Oh, my goodness.
No.
In Montgomery?
Yep. And we had to go through the full process of being put in prison as an inmate, but the only thing they didn't make us do was spray us down for insects.
I was going to say, what did they use? They use lye? Is that what they would use back in the day?
I think it was. You had to stand in like a large phone booth to you up. But
so was this whole experience, was this 24 hours or was this multiple days?
No, it was just one day, but
Okay.
for about 10 hours is what it took to do it. But you had to go, like I said, they put you into Kilby as an inmate. You went to lunch with the inmates, and they intimidated the crud out of you the whole time you're there.
Did it work for you?
It absolutely did not.
I love the honesty.
I was still a bad kid, but that's okay.
But now you have a good story to tell.
Absolutely. At 61, hey, I'm good now.
I was about to say it worked out in the long run.
You turned out all right. That's good stuff. Oh, Steve, thank you so much. I think you're the first scared straight kid that I've ever talked to.
Really? Well, hey, call anytime.
Thank you so
Steve.
much. We appreciate it.
That's great.
800-239-WJOX. A visit, much anticipated, with Rob Pate next. 11:46, three-man front. Former Auburn defensive back. We call him the frozen yogurt king. Not only of Lee County, but of America, and a highly respected eye doctor and former Irwin Eagle, Rob Pate, joining us on the Higginbotham Hotline. Dr. Pate, Rob, how are you?
Hey, guys, I'm doing well. How are y'all doing?
We're doing okay. We wanted to get into some recruiting, and since we spoke last, there's been a lot of talk about Hugh Freeze and his golf playing. First of all, I did not know. I do have the USGA app, and I turn in my scores for tournament purposes where I play. I did not know that was accessible to everyone, and that's something to keep in mind. But what is your take on decommitments? I know that they added the 4-star linebacker earlier, but where Auburn is and putting a lot of that on Hugh Freeze and the frequency of his golf during the summer.
I don't think it really has much to do about golf at all. I think Coach Freeze has always been an avid golfer, and he's probably done that many times over the course of his career about this time of the year. And he seemingly is capable of being able to put together a class pretty quickly that is highly competitive in the recruiting world. So I would suspect that most of this is Auburn's decision to wait till August 1st and just figure out what the rules are going to look like and kind of if people are going to honor their commitments and look and see how things are going to be enforced. And I think they're playing it slow now. Of course, you're going to be behind when others aren't, and they're able to offer so much more than what you're willing to do. But that could prove to be a positive. That could prove to be very, very detrimental. But I also think that, look, if Auburn has to play catch up, they've been in that position before. He proved that he could come in at the end of the Brian Harsin era and salvage a recruiting class basically at the last moment, and put together a respectable group of guys. So I think that their priority right now, and I think even some of the other coaches from the Big 10, Big 12, I think it was the Big 12 coaches that had their meeting recently, and their big thing was about retention more than it was about recruiting. And Auburn, they put up significant resources to keep the guys that they have on their roster in the offseason. And that's what I was just reading an article. Auburn only lost one kid on the 2 deep to the transfer portal. And that was Braden Joyner, a kid that transferred to Purdue. It was an offensive lineman. So they've done a remarkable job of holding on to their players. I feel really good about a team that can win football games this year. And I think that in combination with getting a little bit more clarity on what's going to be allowed and who's going to enforce it. I mean, there may be rules, but if there's nobody enforcing them and you're back to the Wild West and we're full circle back to the bag man again, then, it's who knows what it's going to look like. But any way you look at it, Auburn's got some catch up to do recruiting, but I think that people feel good that Freeze can get it done.
Rob, so I know you're a busy guy. Have you by chance had an opportunity to see or hear A.J. McCarron's comments about Hugh Freeze and Auburn from yesterday?
I have not. No, we've had other things happening in the Pate house over the last couple of days.
No, I know, Rob. Well, here, I'll just give you an excerpt of this because I did want to get your reaction to it, and I think you're a good person to do so.
Sure.
So I won't read you the whole quote, but this is something A.J. McCarron said on a podcast recently. He said, Hugh Freeze is full of crap. I think Hugh Freeze is trying to do whatever he can to save face. He's starting to feel the pressure at Auburn and going into his third year not having the success that he has wanted to have. I think he's trying to figure out and scramble on why they have not been successful. He also added on later that he thinks if you are a player in the state of Alabama that you would be dumb to choose anybody but Alabama for your playing career because they can set people up for success better than Auburn can. And I just think that part in particular would probably resonate with you, Rob, because I think we can all look and agree that you are an example of somebody that went to Auburn, had a great college career, and you have now been very, very successful in your life after that outside of the NFL with being an eye doctor, the new frozen yogurt, and all of those things that you've had going on in your life.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's a silly take. I understand the heart posture it's coming from a guy that that played quarterback for Alabama and was a really good player for them. So I understand the desire to build up your program and hope that every kid goes to that school. My contention would be that any kid that goes to any school in the state of Alabama or plays college football anywhere, one, you're doing something that most of the population is unwilling to do. You're playing a sport that is grueling and difficult, and most people would rather sit behind a keyboard, and most people would rather come and watch than to go out and have to participate, put the work in that it requires to do it. And just by doing that, you're ahead of half the population just by virtue of your work ethic. And then the fan bases and the alumni bases of these schools, they're appreciative of people that come in and do it the right way. That work hard, that to put their nose down and just and do the little thing, do the next best thing. So of course, some of these schools are going to be able to boast having traditional success, having guys that go to the NFL, but guys don't stay in the NFL very long. It's not a thing that the vast majority of people that their high school recruits are ever going to see, even though they all think that they will. I thought that I would, it just right time, right place, and it's got to be in God's plan for that to occur. So, as far as Coach Freeze feeling it, I'm sure he does feel some pressure. I mean, you're in year 3 in an era of football where you can turn a roster over immediately, and you've lost some games that you should have won, that you've given away. Yeah, there's going to be pressure with that. The Auburn people expect better than that, and he knows that. And I don't think you take this job with the expectations that go into the Birmingham Bowl or the Music City Bowl is going to be enough. Auburn people want to compete for championships, and Auburn people, I think, just want to have some consistency. And I think he's trying to build for that. But I would agree with McCarron that Auburn's got to win now in order to for Coach Freeze to be able to maintain and the pieces and to stay intact and to stay at the helm of this program, because it's just time to win.
Rob, we got less than a minute, and you mentioned the things going on in the Pate household. You're battling through a storm, have been there in the Auburn community. I just want to open up the platform. Any clarity that you would like to give any of our listeners?
Yeah, man, I would just say that that my family is appreciative of the encouragement. We have gotten so many phone calls and messages of truth and encouragement and wisdom, and from old pastors in Birmingham, from high school teammates, college teammates, just people in the community. It's been unbelievable. It's allowed us to have some dignity and to have some truth, and we're grateful for it. We trust God. We know He's sovereign. We know He's good, and we believe in Him, and we know that His plans are perfect, and we're just trying to have discernment of when to speak and how to speak, and then we'll do that. But I hate that people out there see this as the heart of the Father. The things that are happening in this community don't reflect that, and I think that's my deepest sadness.
Amen. And we praise Him on the mountain. We praise Him in the valley, right? And we're going to all battle through storms.
Correct.
And you're right.
Correct.
He's got a plan, and I know He's got a plan for you. Rob, thinking about you, thinking about your family, praying for you guys, and the promise. You will make it through. God's got you.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you, guys.
Thank you. Rob Pate joining us here on Three Man Front. Fast-paced first 2 hours of the show. We are three-man front. Landrum Roberts, Conrad Van Order, Molly Robinson, Pat Smith back with us on Monday. Pat, some well-deserved vacation time with his family on the beautiful Alabama Gulf Coast. Hope they're having a great time and probably listening on the Jox app. Hopefully a lot of you are. Appreciate our friends Jox Mobile. They're in the southern portion of our state, also in the capital city of Montgomery, North Alabama, in Huntsville, and the surrounding area there, or anywhere you go, as I mentioned, with that Jox app. And don't forget about, they're on YouTube, Jox TV. You can find us anywhere. There's no excuse, especially getting into college football season and SEC Media Days next week.
Well, there's also no excuse for not going to Diamonds Direct if you're looking to get engaged coming up here soon. I went in recently, and honestly, every time I go in, I am blown away. The place is sleek and everything sparkles, and the team, I promise they will actually listen to you and your needs. When I went in, I got to talk with diamond expert Sasha. I told her everything that I had in mind, and she even showed me pieces that match not just my budget, but my whole entire style. And right now, like I said, if you're getting engaged, now is the time, because they're having a promotion where you buy the engagement ring and you'll get the wedding band for free. I'm serious, and that's not a promo that you'll see every day. So go and check them out. They're located in the Cahaba Village in Mountain Brook. They've got deep roots in the community going back nearly 2 decades now, and they're proud sponsors of both Alabama, Auburn, and the Barons.
We will continue to get to your text. A lot of texts that we have not gotten to. You taking the time to text into the show, and that's the best way to interact with us, 205-834-9450. We will not get to those just yet, but we'll continue to read the ones that we can read on the air, and we appreciate all of your interaction. But some of the discussion, and we've gone down a lot of different roads, whether it was your punishment as a child at school, by a guardian, by a loved one. At the time, you questioned their love for you.
Yeah, it's been a popular one.
There's no way that you can love me. I had a friend of mine who is a pastor, but also he has another job that he does during the day. And he said that a cut-off piece of hose pipe when he was a kid, that would hurt.
That seems not ideal.
No. A lot of the reaction also coming in from something that former Alabama quarterback A.J. McCarron had to say, and it was kind of loaded. You asked Rob about the entire quote, but I want to take the first part of the quote and what he said about Hugh Freeze, namely, and next year and maybe the future for Auburn.
Yeah, so we spent a lot of time talking about one part of the quote, which I asked Rob about, which was essentially the insinuation that you're stupid if you don't pick Alabama over Auburn or any other school in the state of Alabama. But he did have some pointed comments, A.J. McCarron did, about Hugh Freeze and Auburn recruiting, and that's what we'll get to now. So this is the quote from A.J. McCarron from the Dynasty podcast. Quote, Hugh Freeze is full of crap. I think Hugh Freeze is trying to do whatever he can to save face. He's starting to feel the pressure at Auburn, going into his third year, not having the success that the alumni, boosters, and everybody donating a lot of money thought that he would have by this point. I think he's trying to figure it out and scramble on why they are not successful. The state of Alabama is ran by Alabama fans, Alabama alumni, whether you like it or not, end quote.
Yeah, let's cut that quote in half, because we've addressed, and if you want to interact or you want to comment on the last part of the quote about being run by the state of Alabama, I think that's understand where he's coming from. But
I think we all agree there are more Alabama fans than Auburn fans in the state. But to say that means that I get what you're saying. It's
silly, and not going to spend a whole lot of time on that. But the first part of it, the Hugh Freeze is full of crap. In what aspect? In what regard?
I would think he's referencing what we talked about from him and John Cohen last week, where they were talking about recruiting and how,
and the reason why the numbers are where they are,
and how they're waiting for August 1st and insinuating that they're trying to do things the right way and they are under the impression that other schools are maybe doing things the wrong way recruiting.
Well, and he said, I'm not going to say whether I think. I don't know if John Cohen, the athletics director, is backing him up, which he did, and I'm trying to remember the sit down of the comments that he made, which basically corroborated what Hugh Freeze said. Then I'm going to take those guys at their word that that's truly what they believe and how they're operating right now. Not pointing fingers at any other program that is operating in a different way. It's all about interpretation and clarity. As we speak, we have our buddy Trey Wallace that is tweeting out things. We have Ross Dellinger, who's continuing to tweet out things about clarity. And now we are getting a lot of traction. There's a lot of smoke surrounding Deloitte, surrounding NIL deals, third-party deals, and how a lot of these third-party deals, these compensation, what that looks like, what is allowed, what is not going to be allowed, what is fair value, what is considered fair value for the amount of money, the compensation. We're just getting started, but basically that there are some schools that are out there, if I'm interpreting this correctly.
Mm-hmm.
There are programs out there right now that are operating in a way where they don't have the clarity, and it's let's just see if we can secure the deal right now, and then we'll worry about it later.
I think that's fair to say for some programs, not naming any in particular because we don't necessarily know who they are. But I mean, I go back to day one of Big 12 Media Days, right? And you heard some of the Big 12 coaches come out and say, hey, we don't really know what we're doing here. Like, we're all trying to figure it out. And everyone seems to kind of be operating in a similar manner. And we'll see what happens on August 1st. And that would kind of corroborate what you heard from Hugh Freeze and John Cohen last week. But you mentioned some of these, like Trey Wallace, for example, who's a frequent guest on this show, and some of the stories that they've been writing about this. But, you know, his last story about this, he asked this question in his tweet, and it's just, who sets the market for this? And I think that's the question a lot of people have is, okay, maybe you are offering money that maybe isn't necessarily available, or you are stretching that $20.5 million cap a little far, but who's going to enforce it? And how do we know what is the baseline for a fair NIL deal in this new market, right? What did the teams have to operate around with? Because I think then at the same time, you look and go, okay, where Auburn has this perspective on all these deals are going to fall through, or maybe schools are promising more money than they can legitimately offer to some of these players. Well, if everybody's operating at the same playing field, right, would you not just be able to go and get the same players for whatever that decreased dollar amount is, because no one else is going to be able to outbid you for them?
And part of this was the original when NIL came onto the scene and we first started having these discussions on this show and on this station. It was, okay, but what are they actually doing? Okay, well, they signed a deal, and it was still very vague, the financial terms of the deal. But, okay, well, they signed this deal with just whatever, hamburger chain.
Mm-hmm.
I never see them do any social medias for the hamburger chain.
Nope.
I never see any social medias with them making an appearance or signing autographs or doing whatever. I never see the commercials. I never hear the commercials with their likeness endorsing this particular product. So are they just getting a check and using a corporate letterhead and where the money's coming from to say that they're actually exchanging these things, these services for this amount of money? That is going to be a stickler with the folks of Deloitte and saying, okay, well, what are the terms of the deal and what are you actually getting paid for? If it's the hamburger chain, that there are no specifics on what you're going to be doing or any trade, any whatever the case, but they're giving you $1.5 million per season. We need to see more.
Well, and my question would be, how do you determine, you know, in those kinds of deals specifically, right? If you have a company, a product, whatever, that's looking for a player to endorse them. All right, let's say Deloitte comes back and says, well, that player's only worth $200,000. And the company goes, no, it's actually worth, based on our social media following or a particular affiliation we have with this player or the school that he plays for, we think they're worth $500,000. So who's to tell us what we think that our marketing or our investment is worthwhile for our company? Like, we're telling you right now, we are happy to pay this player to promote our product because we think we're going to get $500,000 worth of value out of it. Yet you're telling us he's only worth $200,000. Like, how do you come to that middle ground of companies that are, and I guess the company's not going to be upset if they're told, oh, well, you can pay less and get the same amount of value. But again, it feels like it's very tough to determine some of these fine details.
So for some of these deals, and I'm thinking that with current athletes, part of them saying, I'm going to give you my commitment. I'm going to say, I'm going to sign with your school.
Mm-hmm.
In some cases, it's, hey, it's a foregone conclusion. You're going to get this amount of money. This is how it's going to be broken down into payments, your lump sum up front, and it's coming from this company. Okay, good, great. Y'all have a safe trip home. We'll keep up. Coach so-and-so will be talking to you Tuesday. all right, so and so in the office, let's go ahead and let's submit this through the NIL Go app to Deloitte, have them review it. Well, Deloitte's getting these, and of course they're backlogged because apparently they're being very thorough. But a lot of these are getting rejected. Only what was it? 1/3 of them are being approved right now.
Yep, that was it.
So is that coming back? Or is the kid from Old Valley High? I'm sure the colleges are like, we'll work through this. These athletic departments or whoever's handling that, we'll work through this. No, there's no reason to alarm Conrad and his family right now. We think that we can get this worked out. Let's give them more information. Meanwhile, the kid, they think that it's all good. I think the fear with some of these, and if you're taking the logic or the theory or what they truly believe, and that's John Cohen and also Hugh Freeze, is that they believe that a lot of these deals will be ultimately rejected, and these kids aren't going to have the offer that they thought that they were going to have.
And that's when Auburn
December.
strikes. Yeah. And see, and another thing that I would be curious about, we talked about it briefly on Monday, I think, but you remember the new deal that Texas Tech gave to that offensive lineman, and it was, $5.1 million. And everyone goes, man, that's a lot of your salary cap, essentially, that you're spending on this one offensive lineman. Well, then some of the details come out, and it's not actually a $5 million contract. Now, granted, it could potentially become that, depending on how the salary cap increases over the time he's at Texas Tech. But I wonder, are you having a lot of those deals where schools are saying, hey, just a random amount. Hey, we're going to give you a $3 million commitment. This is our offer to you, $3 million over the next 3 years. But if the salary cap doesn't raise, well, it's going to turn into a $1.5 million deal over 3 years. And so these kids have been told, hey, this is how much you could potentially make. But based on what we understand with the House settlement, this is probably more realistic of what you're going to make. And it's less money than we think it is. And maybe some of those deals are being done outside of Texas Tech, and that's how some of these commitments are being had.
Well, I don't know as far as the College Sports Commission, how that's going to go with the enforcement arm. But as far as Deloitte goes, it appears to me that they are actually very serious about reviewing these deals.
Well, yeah, since already backed up.
Apparently. I never imagined that you would have this many deals that were rejected.
It's
honestly,
kind of shocking.
The skeptic in me believed that, and I still do believe to some degree, that this was all window dressing. And this is telling everybody, all right, we got this under control. The rails are put up. It's not perfect, but it's a lot better than it was. And these would be rubber stamped and pushed through.
Yeah, it's like the meme of
that's happening right now.
No, it's like the meme of the security guard who's, not even touching the people as they walk in. He's like, oh, yeah, you're good. You can go right on in there. And I think that's what a lot of us were expecting. Max, we just got a text from our listener, Max, and I think this is very interesting. So he says, no one's taking into account the cost of living of where these players are. I can assure you fair market value for someone like Ryan Williams will be more at a place like USC, where the cost of living would be 4 times as much as it is in the state of Alabama, and you have to factor in state income taxes. He says, I hope Deloitte takes this into account. But that's another one of those things.
Max is a man after my own heart. He actually factors in real life stuff like cost of living, taxes.
Yeah, no, and I think that's a great point.
Unless you're in the state of
Georgia. Be something that, but that's something that I think would be of great interest, right? Because if you're saying that Texas can offer the same amount as a kid at USC can, but you have no state income tax in the state of Texas versus what it is in California, why would you not go to, it's competitive imbalance again, potentially.
More of your text, more on this conversation. We also have a great list of put out by someone, and we'll tell you who it is, but the list of hot seat candidates, who's definitely on the hot seat, who needs to win more, all of that good stuff, and it kind of ties into what we're talking about. It actually really ties into what we're talking about. We'll continue the Thursday edition of Three Man Front on Jox. 1218 NIL Deloitte. Deal or no deal? A lot of that conversation. We'll get to your texts. If you're just joining us, a lot of different roads we went down with that. Some of the comments by former Alabama quarterback A.J. McCarron concerning Hugh Freeze and Auburn. A lot of that has been the topic of discussion today as well. We will get back to your phone calls, 800-239-WJOX. And let's go to Blazer. He's in Hueytown. Hey, Blazer, how are you?
Hey, Ledger, how are you, man?
Doing great. Hope you are.
I've listened to A.J. McCarron's comments. And I've never been more disgusted in my life when I heard those comments, especially the last comment. I mean, I'm an Alabama fan, but I do not agree with that comment at all. I don't agree with it. And you, Landry, as a UAB alumni, you don't agree with that comment. And the other comment that he made was every player from the state, every high school player from the state of Alabama should come to Alabama. That's not happening. You know good and well that's not happening. That'll never happen. Alabama's not getting all the top players from the state of Alabama. It's not happening. You got all these guys going to Texas and Ohio State. We had a running back that came. Do you remember Mekhi Hughes from here in Alabama?
Yeah. Yeah, played at Huffman, went to Tulane, and tore it up.
Guess where he's at now? Eugene, Oregon.
Yep.
Playing in Oregon right now. And he was I don't even think Alabama recruited him. Nobody even heard of him until he got to Tulane. And look how he turned out. And I guarantee he's going to tear it up there in Eugene. Right? I guarantee he's going to do it. He's going to tear it up in there in Eugene.
He's going to tear it up wherever he is. I love watching that kid run.
Exactly. The way he dominated UAB this past season, you can see why.
Yeah. Powerful guy, runs low to the ground.
Oh, absolutely. And another thing is, when he mentioned about Hugh Freeze in terms of pressure, Hugh Freeze faces pressure every year. Look where he's at. He's the head coach of the Auburn Tigers. There's pressure every year.
Yep.
There's pressure. And Brian Kelly, look at Brian Kelly. He's under pressure every year.
Let Kalen DeBoer go 9-4 again, and there's going to be immense pressure on him.
Exactly. You think Nick Saban? You talking about pressure? Look what Nick Saban. There's pressure every year on Nick Saban.
Yep.
I mean, look how great he is. You talking about pressure, man? Every coach in college football, as a matter of fact, every coach on every sport at every level goes through pressure of winning games. There's pressure everywhere on these coaches. There's an expectation from everybody.
For sure. No, there is Blazer. And yeah, I know that you took exception to it. The last part of the quote about being the state being, look, there are great people that graduated from UAB, Auburn, Alabama, and other fine institutions that had not, the list, I don't even have time to go through the list, but very talented people and successful people in this state. I don't really take a whole lot of that to heart because
me neither.
He's speaking as a proud former player and a graduate.
Yeah,
I do believe he graduated.
That's the mindset of some of these Alabama players. That's some of the mindset of an Alabama fan, a diehard Alabama fan. Let's think about this for a second. So at the University of Alabama, there's different kinds of fans. You got your diehard passionate fans, the ones that are completely delusional. Then you got your fans that root for different teams. You got Alabama fans that root for UAB.
Sure.
You got Alabama fans that root for Troy or Jacksonville State. I'm gonna tell you one thing right now. You got Alabama fans that also root for Auburn.
Sure. You've got Auburn fans that went to law school at Alabama.
One of my roommates in college was a diehard Auburn fan.
Yeah.
I mean, about this. Think about this in the state of, not just in the state of Alabama, but through all the college football. Not every fan has one favorite team. There's fans that root for 8 different teams from 3 different states.
That's true.
You didn't have to bring Damien into
well,
this.
the ones that bother me are I'm an Alabama football fan. I'm a Duke basketball fan. And, oh, by the way, I like the Lakers, and they happen to have just won 4 world titles in a row. I got a buddy like that.
Hey, I only like 2 of those teams.
I got a buddy like that. But, yeah, I understand what you're saying, Blazer. Understand where you're coming from.
And the thing about me, I'm a UAB fan first, then I'm an Alabama fan.
Yeah, fire breathers only.
I know what to expect. I know the reason why I'm a diehard UAB fan is because I see the University of Alabama and the University of Auburn. Look at the success they've had, and I look at UAB and I say, if Alabama and Auburn can have all this success, why can't UAB?
Blazer, thank you for the phone call. We appreciate it. Going back to, and it's something that Rob had said. He said whether you played at Alabama, whether you played at Auburn, you played college football. It's something that very few of us are playing a college sport.
You're already ahead of the
game. Ever had the opportunity or ability to do. But in this state, we're so passionate about football, especially college football.
Oh, yeah.
That, your opportunities, they're going to be there, and your network in certain areas might be a little bit broader than Conrad and Landrum because we went to school. You actually studied.
Yes.
I did get a degree by the grace of God. But but in the state of Indiana, I guarantee you if you played basketball at IU, it probably resonates a lot more than, hey, I play football at IU.
Yes, well,
with certain people. I got a high school job.
I was about to say.
I got a high school job because I put on it was like special interest hobbies, sports, high school football, and the sports that I played.
Mm-hmm.
The manager of the store said, I'm going to go ahead and tell you one of the reasons that factored into me hiring you is because you're an athlete. You play competitive, organized sports, but it wasn't because I was an athlete and he loved sports. He said, you get the value of team and you get the value of commitment. And I want those kinds of people working here. Just an example.
No, and I think that's a fantastic example. And again, we pointed out multiple examples of people that have gone elsewhere in the state of Alabama that have turned out to be successful, whether it was playing professional football or doing something else like our friend Rob Pate, who we talked to. I did want to ask you, are you surprised? And I guess I was really thinking of it in that last call. I know he said he's a UAB fan, but he's also an Alabama fan. I made my feelings clear. We've heard from other Alabama fans today on the show as well. Are you surprised? Because I feel like a lot of Alabama fans are not in support of what A.J. McCarron said. Now, some of them are. Oh, yeah, let's kick Auburn while they're down. But I feel like a lot of people, particularly that last part about you're dumb if you don't go to Alabama, a lot of Alabama fans even seem to be taking a problem.
Well, I don't know. I don't want to say that they weren't genuine, but how much of that was just trying to get some shock value if he truly believes that. My thing is, and I said this to begin the show, with for him in particular, he has been blessed with so much physical ability. And I didn't follow his high school career. I knew his name when it came to his recruitment. But A.J. McCarron has always been very talented. And whether it's quarterbacking, I'm sure he was probably if he ever picked up a club, a decent golfer. He's probably
selecting
really
tattoo
good.
artist.
Okay, that's a whole nother realm. Baseball, whatever, and he has been blessed to be able to do what he's done and turned a career into it. And now at the age of 34, he's officially, unofficially had to hang it up. But has he ever had to? I'm not saying that it's not a job. He's had a job, but the real world, as we speak, has he ever had to experience that? And my guess is no, as far as having to use certain things because he's got to feed his family, to go out there in the breadline, or his resume be among 800 other ones has he had to do that. Now, yes, the networks and all of that, it can be advantageous here in this state, but it's really a lazy take on the whole way it runs the state and all of that.
Yeah.
That's why I didn't want to focus too much on it.
No,
Because I think a lot of
know.
Alabama fans, as you're saying, they see through that and they're like, that's not right.
It's like, yeah, okay. Again, it goes back to I don't think anybody's going to be shocked to find out that there's more Alabama fans in the state of Alabama than Auburn fans. I think that's pretty common knowledge. That's just kind of the way that it goes. And again, with Auburn, and somebody did just text it, didn't A.J. McCarron's wife go to Auburn? Yes, Catherine Webb is an Auburn, Auburn alum. And while what he is saying, again,
sleeping with the enemy.
That's right. What he is saying is true for him. Right? It worked for him. That was the best path for him. And that's great. I don't think anybody has a problem with him sharing what's best for him. It's just when you take what worked for you and you insinuate that that's what's best for everyone else out there when you don't know other people's situations or what would make them happy or what their goals are in life. Because again, the majority of these kids that are on these rosters are not going to be playing in the NFL. And the ones that are playing in the NFL, a very small fraction of them are going to have a sustained career at the professional football level. A lot of them are going to have to transition to something that is not football or talking about football in their professional life. And some other places can set you up to do that just as well or even better than Alabama.
And the advantage that the kids have now is that they are guaranteed, and it just depends on the scale of where you go and you sign that letter of intent and that official agreement, how much money you're going to be compensated. But they're going to be leaving college whenever their career ends with, in most cases, a lot more money than any of us had as we left college. And we're still paying off student loans or trying to make a car payment or pay insurance. If they're smart with it and they have good advisors and they're conservative with it, at a lot of these, let's just say SEC schools, SEC football roster, it's $100,000. That's like free money, as I had a coach tell me right now. That is, okay, well, here's your free T-shirt. Thanks for coming to the game. Here's your $100,000. That's where it starts. You're not in the game. And that's why a lot of these other schools, like at the non-Power 4 level, are struggling because it might be a guy who is vital to their success on the offensive line. But School X needs a backup guy, and they need numbers. Well, they have $100,000 that the school where the kid's going to get a lot more playing time and means a lot more than they have. They just don't have that.
They can't compete.
It's not real. So that's where a lot of this kind of, it's not a perfect system. It's not going to be under this system. If you ever thought it was, then sorry.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right.
And I don't think everybody has the solutions. We're seeing that as evidence right now.
I was about to say they are actively telling you and publicly saying we don't know what we're doing. We're all trying to figure this out at the same time. So we will find it out as we go along. But something we did bring up earlier that ties into this conversation is the hot seat for coaches, not only in the SEC, but all around college football. So we have a list of the 10 coaches who are most likely to be on the hot seat and be fired during the 2025 college football season. We'll share it with you next on 3-Man Front. 12:35 here on the Thursday edition of Three Man Front. Conrad Landrum and Molly here with you until 2 o'clock. Hand you off to the Paul Feinbaum Show with a very special guest host today that many of you will be very familiar with, I do believe. But appreciate you making us a part of your day and so much great interaction, calls, text. We still have so many of your texts to get to, and we will later on in the show. But we do have our coaching hot board, our hot seats for the upcoming college football season to get to. But first, some breaking news from the recruiting front, as just moments ago, live on ESPN, 5-star athlete Lamar Brown, who is a consensus top 10 recruit, but according to some sites, I believe ESPN being one of them, he is the number 1 overall recruit in the 2026 class, according to some sources. He has just committed to the LSU Tigers. So he chose LSU over Texas A&M, Texas, and Miami. Interesting, though, he's a 5-star athlete, but based on what I was just reading, he plans to play offensive line at LSU. That is ultimately what he hopes to do, and that is where I guess he sees his best future. So LSU picking up a big commitment there just moments ago in 5-star athlete Lamar Brown out of Louisiana. And quickly, we also got some news from Tank Jones, who's a big 5-star target for Alabama, Oregon, and Texas A&M. We talked about him with Rodney a little earlier in the show. Moments ago, he met with the media. He did not make a commitment, but he announced that he will be committing by the first week of August. So within the next month, you will know where Tank Jones is. I know we've been waiting to find out his commitment date. No specific date given yet, but he said it will be either at the end of July or the first week of August. So a little recruiting news there, Landrum, and LSU has to be pretty happy right now getting what some people are saying is the number 1 overall player in the upcoming class.
Am I reading this right? Lamar Brown goes to University High in Baton Rouge, which is the high school that is essentially connected to the LSU campus.
Yes, I think it's called a University Lab or something like that.
Yeah, who was the Alabama linebacker just from a few years ago that went there? Golly, there have been so many good Alabama linebackers.
I know, I'm trying to remember who it was. But no, I mean, they have pumped out some very talented kids. Was it Dylan Moses?
I think it was.
Oh, yeah, it was Dylan Moses.
Yep, that's a good call.
Oh, man, that's one of those that just breaks my heart. What could have been if he hadn't gotten injured for his future career? Yeah, a couple people sitting in it was Dylan Moses, so thank you all for
We will keep the theme going because we do have the worst thing I've seen coming up, and it might tie into a little bit of what we've been talking about today. But also, I like what we've been doing with the alert that passed the Senate yesterday nationally, Lulu's law.
Yes, for alerts about shark attacks in a local area.
What we're trying to do is educate our listeners and promote awareness on certain topics, and so we're tying that into the worst thing I've seen, and hopefully it can prevent it from happening again.
Yes, and the worst thing that I've seen coming up later today is definitely something that it could happen to you. You may know somebody that it's happened to, and unfortunately we'll tell you about somebody pretty prominent that it happened to later on in the show. But something we did want to inform our listeners about, Landrum, and that was CBS Sports, who came out with their college football hot seat list for the upcoming season. So they have given you, I said it was 10, it's actually 9. So they have given us 9 head coaches that they think are the most likely to be fired this upcoming season. 3 of them, Landrum, are from in the SEC.
All right, 3 from the SEC. Can I take a guess?
Yes.
Let's go Sam Pittman.
Yes.
Next, we will go Brent Venables.
Yes.
And last, I'm guessing Hugh Freeze.
That would be correct. Now, which one of those do you think they have is the most likely to be fired out of those 3?
Sam Pittman.
I would actually be Brent Venables.
Ah, okay.
So according to CBS, so their number 1 pick for you must win this year or you are getting fired is Sonny Cumbie at La Tech. That is who they have as the number 1 coach most likely to be fired.
I'm going to be honest with you.
Season.
No offense to Sonny, but I'm surprised he's
there.
He's made it this long. They got, I guess, incrementally better, but it's all relative.
Yeah, that's a tough spot there. But at number 2, the second most likely coach to be fired this upcoming season, according to CBS Sports, is Brent Venables at Oklahoma. That's a bit of a shocker to me that he would be ahead of. I think him and Hugh Freeze, you could have a similar discussion about. I would have thought Sam Pittman would have been at the top for the SEC.
I would have too, because Sam's kind of been on that edge.
He's been teetering.
He's a really good coach. I think that Arkansas, based on what we've been told from friends like Ty and others there in the state that are embedded, that the NIL has not been there. You've seen a lot of guys from Arkansas in the transfer portal. They've been able to pick some up, but maybe more key guys leaving for better opportunities in past years than some of the other high profile SEC programs.
It's certainly been tough for Arkansas. So they have Brent Venables at number 2, the second most likely college football coach to be fired this year. At number 3, they have Trent Dilfer.
Okay.
UAB. At number 4, somebody we talked about yesterday with his hair, Mike Gundy, Oklahoma State.
Yeah. I don't think it would break Mike Gundy's heart, to be honest.
No.
Because in the past, we know that he has politic behind the scenes to try to land other gigs.
He has, yeah.
Which that's not just specific to him. That's been other coaches, and that's never made the light of day, and that's why agents do what they do.
Do you think he would be in high demand if Oklahoma State moved on from him after this year? Do you think he'd be in high demand for other Power 5 jobs?
Like mass high demand? No, but he would get another high. It's personality. It's got to be a certain fit.
Okay, so Brent Venables
Especially
and Mike Gundy both get fired at the end of hypothetically. Who ends up with a better job? Who do you think would be a more attractive
between Venables and
Gundy?
It would be Gundy.
Okay.
Just because of Venables' track record,
great defensive coordinator
could go and be a defensive coordinator and be the highest paid coordinator in the country if he gets run out of Norman.
Yeah, no, I completely agree with that. All right, at number 5, Brent Brennan at Arizona. Rough year last year. Well, but also, they've had just the movement that you had with what happened with Washington. It's been
a lot.
But
they've
had to shuffle a lot of things around.
There's more pressure on him now because of what Kenny Dillingham's doing at Arizona State.
That is an excellent point as well. All right, at number 6, they have Sam Pittman, who we talked about earlier. They have at number 7, Hugh Freeze. So there's your SEC representation. I don't think many people would be surprised to see Hugh Freeze on this list, but he is, at least according to On3, the 3rd most likely SEC coach to be fired this year. At number 8, you have Brent Pry at Virginia Tech. And at number 9, Scott Satterfield, who took over for Luke Fickell at Cincinnati. And with their move to the Big 12, it's been a little difficult.
For Hugh Freeze, and I don't know what that number is, I would think at least winning 8 regular season games.
Is that we're still there, 8-4? What if 8-4, but then you go to a bowl game and have a really poor performance, 8-5? Do you give much credence to that bowl performance, or you just we got to 8-4? It was a long season. We're heading the right direction.
It depends on what the other losses look like. If you have mismanagement in games, like we saw at times last year, yeah, and it depends on who that's to. Now, if it's just, hey, you battled your tail off, you lost to Georgia at home.
No one's going to blame you for that.
By a touchdown. You lost a heartbreaker to Alabama again at Jordan Hare. They're not going to like it, but
you can understand where that would happen. Yes.
The losses that would be, you couldn't explain them away. If Kentucky, for instance, rolls into Jordan Hare this year,
that'd be a tough one.
They upset Auburn.
Yep. Probably don't need to lose to Diego Pavia for a 3rd year in a row.
Definitely don't need to do that. I even think a Missouri rolling in there, losing to them. Those are.
When we just talked about Arkansas, that's another one.
There should be, and I forget who said that. There should never be a year, all due respect, where those rosters of those particular teams we just mentioned should be better than Auburn's.
I 100% agree with that.
Does it matter? No.
Once in a blue moon, somebody, you lose in an upset in one of those games. Understandable. Happens to everybody. But like you're saying, year in and year out, or at least for the last few years, you shouldn't be looking at your roster and go, man, I just don't know if we have the Jimmies and Joes compared to Kentucky.
I think it would have to go, well, if there was just gross mismanagement during games where there were games that you had and you lost. The power broke. That could be enough to spark a, you know what, I'll write the check. An emotional reaction, I'll write that check. And that happens. It's happened at Auburn before. It's happened at others where maybe the donor or the family or wherever those funds are coming from that's going to be part of that buyout.
You're just so done with it and ready to.
We'll say this, that Hugh Freeze's contract at Auburn compared to other ones, which a lot of them have been one-sided to the credit of one Jimmy Sexton and other agents, have been crazy. His is more conservative, in my opinion.
So if Auburn
than past contracts.
If Auburn moved on from Hugh Freeze after this season, they would owe him $13.8 million.
Think about that.
What'd they give Brian Harsin? Was it 25?
$13 million in college basketball terms. Yeah, that's something you got to think about with your basketball program. But an SEC football program, $13 million buyout. But then it's starting over. The climate of college football right now.
Mm-hmm.
Do you really want to do that? I think it would take a lot. I think the bar has moved for a lot of these coaches because, okay, well, if Brian Kelly, if he's on the hot seat, fine, but who are you going to replace him with that's better?
I was
that's
about to say,
guarantee
that's the question. Who can you get that's better?
You can get over the hump. And don't forget, we're going to be expanding soon.
We will.
To college football in the playoff.
Oh, you mean past 16?
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's not going to stop there.
Well, we have 16, but then just at 16, you got more spots.
Mm-hmm.
And now, instead of, hey, I got to a college football playoff, or look how many straight bowl games or how many top 10 finishes we had consecutively in my tenure, now that's just one more thing. Kind of like March Madness. How many tournaments did you make in your tenure at that school?
One, it's a lot different when it's, hey, you got to finish in the top 4 to make the playoff. And now all you got to do is finish in the top 15 or 16, depending on how the seeding is going to work. There's a lot of schools out there that they're going to think that's a very realistic possibility. Maybe not every year, but at least on a somewhat consistent basis to be in that mix. And that's going to put the pressure on.
Some of you very hot under the collar and reactionary, and we love it. We'll get your reaction as we continue. 3-man front on Jox. 12:51, 3-man front, Landrum, Conrad, Molly. Hope everybody's doing well. Well, if you're looking for a pontoon boat this summer, Poorhouse Branch Marina at Smith Lake is the only dealer on the lake to have the Avalon pontoons. Avalon pontoons are known for luxury, comfort, and performance. You pair it with the most fuel-efficient engine on the water from Honda Marine, you've got a winner. Poorhouse Branch Marina at Smith Lake also has Tahoe pontoons ready for family fun. Get it today with the in-house financing. See it all at PoorhouseBranchMarina.com.
Well, the reaction continues to roll in as we discuss and get your thoughts on what A.J. McCarron had to say about Auburn. We've got more recruiting talk going on. We've got childhood punishments, childhood shoe wear, all of that good stuff for you on the courtesy GMC text line, which is where we go right now. And to clear something up, we were talking about a minute ago, if you missed it, Lamar Brown, according to some sources, the number one overall recruit in the upcoming class, committed to LSU just a few minutes ago, and he went to University Lab down there in Louisiana. We were talking about former Alabama linebackers who had come from there, and some of you have been sending in a couple of names, but Dylan Moses and Christian Harris both attended the University Lab, so you are all correct in the on the text line there, because I know some of you were debating which one it was. It was actually both of them.
Moses went to University Lab, and he went to IMG.
Yes, correct. And I think he finished up at IMG, if I remember correctly. Let's see, someone chiming in about the coaches on the hot seat in college football. They say if Sam Pittman's overall record drops below 500, then his buyout drops by 50%. I did not know that. I'll take your word for that, but that would be...
No, I didn't know that either.
I'd be surprised. Well, I guess a lot of coaches probably wouldn't sign a deal like that, but that's a very smart deal, I would say, if you are Arkansas.
Yeah, good job, Hunter Yurachek.
Let's see. We have, this text coming in from Chicago. Texter says, I'm an Alabama native. I'm a former high school athlete for a 5A high school. I played both baseball and football. I graduated from University of Alabama in 1995. And I've been living in Chicago for the past 30 years, and I'm still an avid Alabama sports fan. I married a Northwestern grad. All of that to say, A.J. McCarron is way out over his skis on this one. He needs to reflect the class for which the Alabama program is known. He needs to listen much more than he speaks. Lots of good folks in this world, regardless of where they went to school and studied.
Thank you for listening.
Appreciate the text from Chicago.
Yeah,
absolutely. Jimmy chimes in. A.J. McCarron started 4 games in the NFL. Is he considered a successful NFL QB? If you want to get really specific, have many of those 4 games would he have started if the guy in front of him had not been injured? 0. That would be correct. That was when Andy Dalton got hurt in Cincinnati.
In my opinion, he had one of the best jobs in sports. Baseball cap, clipboard, getting a check.
Hey, if you made it to the league, you're professional. You're successful. Yeah. You could hold someone's jockstrap for one day in the major leagues, and I'm going to say you're a Major League Baseball player.
And people kept hiring you.
I was about to say,
pretty good deal.
I'm sorry, being a career backup quarterback in the NFL that has to be one of the best jobs in the world. You don't get hit at practice. You never have to play. And then when you do have to play because someone gets hurt, there's 0 expectations.
0.
Hey,
it's incredible.
Anything is possible.
That's right. The Chase Daniels of the world, the Chad Henneys of the world are, I promise you, living very nice lives right now.
I tell you what, when I went to that Bears game, though, and it was Dalton starting and not Justin Fields. Ooh, Dalton just got
the old Red Rocket.
He got,
as they called him. He was good for a little while.
He got brutalized by Bears fans.
Yeah,
I did get to watch Joe Burrow, though.
He's very good. I will say this, too.
Turns out that kid's got something.
Yeah, I think we mentioned it yesterday, but I watched the first episode of the new season of Quarterback with Joe Burrow.
Did you cry?
It was very good. Highly recommend.
Did he bring up the Batmobile?
Joe Burrow is a very interesting person. He's a very private person.
Yes.
So it's very cool getting to see. He likes to play the piano. Who would have guessed?
But more likable than Aaron Rodgers.
Well,
he's a very private person.
It's a low bar.
But creepy private. 1 o'clock, 3-man front. Landrum, Conrad, and Molly. It's been a fun show. Rodney Orr, Tighter Insider in the 11 o'clock hour. Also a really good conversation with Rob Pate. All of that can be found at joxfm.com and also the Jox app, the 3-man front podcast. You can take any portion of the show, segment of the show, interview, all of that good stuff, and you can listen to it at your leisure. We appreciate our friends there on Jox Mobile. They're in the southern part of our state. Our friends in Montgomery, also up in Huntsville, the surrounding area, or on the app or watching on YouTube. They're on Jox TV. It's really, really simple. There's no excuse. And for some of you, we appreciate your participation all year long. But the unofficial, official start for us of the college football season, notably the SEC college football season, begins next week. And we will have wall-to-wall coverage originating from Atlanta. Conrad will lead us off, as we would expect.
That's right. Bright and early, 6 a.m.
6 a.m. Monday morning. He will set the scene, and then you've got teams, coaches, players that will be coming in, a lot of folks that we talk to throughout the course of the year, and others that we don't get a chance to talk to will be dropping by. So that is a must-watch, listen experience with our coverage of SEC Media Days next week.
Yeah, it's going to be absolutely fantastic. And I'm excited because this will be the first time that all three of us have been able to go together, because we normally have to, we kind of staggered a little bit. So last year I was in Dallas. The year before, you and Pat were in Nashville. So it's nice that all three of us will be there alongside Greg and Cole, and we'll all get to hang out. And yeah, a lot to learn. And I think a lot of interest in not only what's going on, bigger picture stuff, college football playoff, probably going to be a big topic of conversation, but what's going on with both Alabama and Auburn for the upcoming seasons. And one of our listeners, Robert, he actually just texted this in. He said, what do you think the number one question Kalen DeBoer will be asked about on the field besides quarterback? And I would think that would maybe be
Ryan Grubb for me.
I think it's going to be Ryan Grubb and what the offense is going to look like in terms of run-pass balance and how the offense will look different this year compared to last year. I think that's going to be, I guess maybe that's kind of cheating because that includes the quarterback a little bit, but I would think Ryan Grubb and his impact would be a big.
And
big
also a wide
point.
receiver room with the addition of Horton.
Mm-hmm.
What does that look like? He'll be asked a lot about what did you learn in year one.
A lot of recap. Oh, does he get asked, will he change his wardrobe this season? Is that something that will come up? I hope it's not.
I tell you,
I hope not.
Well, if all the good questions are taken.
It will.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Why not? Why would you not?
Because
because you
like
know
a
what?
media days question. That
It is a media
days
days question. Now, it's not the Clay Travis asking Tim Tebow.
No, it's not.
If he was a virgin.
Which you know he's not, because he just had a baby.
One of the infamous moments.
What did I just walk in on? Hold on. What? Sorry, I was talking to somebody.
Yeah, we were talking I referenced Clay Travis asking Tim Tebow at an SEC Media Days long ago if he was still a virgin.
Well, like Conrad said, him and his wife just had a baby. I think a baby girl.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
So congrats to them.
Yeah, I don't think that anyone was
I know.
questioning later in life, but it was, I wouldn't have asked it, but.
No, I wouldn't have either.
Clay's done fine.
I was about to say, he turned it into something for himself and seems to be doing
fine. He
fine.
did. But you know what? If all the, look, that is actually something, because you're serving your audience too, your readers, your listeners, your subscribers. If everybody has asked all the boilerplate questions, which I say boilerplate, they're important.
The questions that have to be asked, yes.
But ask him about his wardrobe. I think you get a kick out of it.
Hey, y'all still going to do ice cream trucks at a fall camp this year?
Perfect. Yeah.
It'll be interesting. I think you'll get a little bit of that. Did somebody ask Hugh Freeze about his golf game, or hey, what did you shoot last time you were on the golf course? When was the last time you were on the course? You think you get any of that, or are people going to stay away from that?
I think we get somebody. The way they frame it, but I do think the golf thing comes up. It comes up.
I think whether it's in the main room or doing
the round table
individual
discussions.
Interviews, things like that. Yeah.
When he goes with a pool of reporters. Yeah. All right. So let's just go through this. Kirby Smart, what do you think? What would be a question if it's not boilerplate? What would you like to ask him?
Not boilerplate. See again. Okay, so I would avoid quarterback. I would probably go wide receiver for him. And how are you addressing last year's problem where you had the most drops of any wide receiver room in the country? How is that going to be different this year? And because I think that is a major factor for Georgia this year if they're going to be better offensively. That's probably where I would go. What about you?
I was thinking more just every other question has been taken. Maybe.
Oh, you're thinking more lighthearted, like fun questions.
Yeah. And I don't know if he was asked this last year, but how much has your relationship with Coach Saban changed?
Now that he's retired?
Yeah.
That would be an excellent question. Yeah.
What about for Billy Napier?
Ooh, for Billy Napier. What do you think about what's going on with the Sun Belt right now? What are your thoughts on that debacle?
Yeah. I would maybe go at any point last year, had you contacted a realtor?
That would be an interesting question.
What would you ask Josh Heupel at Tennessee?
Oh. Oh man, see that one's hard because I feel like every question would want to be about the Nico situation and what's going on. I would probably just say to try to have a different angle. Personality wise, what's the biggest difference about Joey and Nico? Something with it. It doesn't have to do with off the field, but where you can kind of hope that maybe he throws a little jab in there or something like that. I would want to position it that way because it have to be some fun Nico drama.
Mine would be I can't pronounce his name. How much interaction did you have with the fraud, the scam artist?
Oh, yeah, Ferkling.
I'm always very...
Another good one would be if Brent Venables gets fired this year, are you going to take the Oklahoma job?
Yeah. Clark Lee, it would be, are we certain on how many more years or seasons potentially that Diego Pavia has?
Have y'all replaced the goalpost from the Alabama game last year?
That's a good one. Lane Kiffin?
There's so much
it would have
there.
to be, it would have to be, what's his wife's name? Or ex-wife that's now maybe his wife again?
Layla?
Yeah, it would
I
be
think
something.
so.
Are
about
they
that.
back together?
They were. And
I thought they were.
They were. And now
How did I miss this? They're back together?
this was months ago.
Yeah, this is old news, Landrum.
You must have been out when this happened. Yeah, because they posted they started posting pictures together. Yeah, Molly's our social media expert. She'll find it. But yeah, allegedly they had gotten back together. I don't know if they got remarried, but they were back together, and I think the whole family is in Oxford now. And so yeah, it'd be something about his personal
What are
life.
you doing different in your marriage this time around than you did the first time around?
What did you learn from the yoga instructor that is now helping you in your second go around with Lala, whatever her name is?
What's your go-to bait when you go fishing?
Who has the early lead on the recruitment of Knox Kiffin? Where's Knox going?
Do you have a personal vendetta versus Hugh Freeze or against Hugh Freeze, or is he just too easy to troll?
It's too easy to troll. But I also like how for all the other coaches, we're like, I guess I'd ask this one. And for Lane, we're like rattling off like 5 in a row. You're like, oh yeah, these would be great questions.
Brian
for
Kelly of
Lane.
LSU. I would say if you could start your season game 2 of every year, would you prefer to do that?
That would be a good one. Have you learned any more dance moves for the new recruits?
Sorry.
Do you have it?
I found this photo. This is from May 25th.
Is it the one where they're doing the heart?
It sure is.
Yeah,
Look
okay.
how sweet.
That's what I thought.
I think that's her.
They've had pictures of
Wait a
them
minute.
together.
You think
though.
that's her?
They've had pictures of them together.
Yes, they have.
Well, a lot of times, though, they put their differences aside. They're raising children. There's monumental moments in those children's lives,
Oh,
and they
It's
come
more
He
than
together,
posted this.
that.
He also posted this throwback.
and they choose to be
Like, if you weren't together, I don't think you would post throwbacks of your wife.
or maybe they're just really good friends now. I hope that they're back together.
I hope they are too.
You guys said it like it was gospel. I just had not heard that they were, and it's awesome if they are.
Okay, so on Mother's Day, Lane Kiffin posted a picture of his ex-wife and said the band is back together.
There we go.
Just saying. Take that as you will.
That's what
Maybe
I
we'll
needed.
find out next week.
Sorry, I don't follow
Well,
Well, I don't keep up with him on social media.
Yeah, it's okay.
I depend on you guys to do that.
That's one. That's what we
You wade through all the filth and the trash.
And that's what we like to do. What would you ask Sark?
Ooh.
What you got in that flask?
Conrad.
Sorry, that was bad.
Conrad.
Sorry, it was bad.
But since you said it,
I mean, I'm sorry. That was low hanging fruit. Something about the pole monkey, maybe pole assassin.
No, he got a divorce, didn't he?
I think so.
No, they're back together.
They're back together too.
The pole monkey guy.
Oh no, sorry, I'm talking about Sark and his wife.
Yeah, Sark and his wife.
They had a baby together too.
Yeah, his wife is not the pole monkey owner.
No,
that's
it was
Coach
an assistant.
No, it was an assistant
Yeah, it was another
coach.
coach.
Coach
Yeah.
Banks, right?
Yeah, I think so.
I don't remember the coach.
One
That was a
of
couple
those.
years
It
ago.
was an assistant coach. I don't even know if he's still on the coaching staff. But that was a fun story.
For Sark, I would say how much communication do you have with any of the Mannings
Ooh, that'd be a good one.
besides
Oh.
Arch?
Okay, did you see what was going on at Auburn yesterday? So, and someone on the text line.
By the way, there's been a lot going on in Auburn this week.
Okay, that's fair. Somebody on the text line, you can call
Weird
in
week.
and correct me if I'm wrong. But I saw something yesterday. It looked like Bo Nix and Eli Manning were in Auburn together, rolling Toomer's Corner.
Yes, I
for,
did see
I
that.
guess for
Eli's places.
his show. Yeah. So I saw they were trying to set a world record for, I don't know if it was most people rolling Toomer's Corner or most toilet paper used to roll, something like that. They were trying to set a record.
Can I just go? You don't even have to crank it up, Molly. But going back to Lane Kiffin and the question you would ask,
Mhm.
if you had that one question, and I said, what's your go-to bait when you go fishing?
When you go fishing, yeah.
And Pizza Larry chimes in. He says, Lane's go-to bait is jail. A clever response.
That's good. That's good.
Not that I agree with it. Don't endorse it. But the creativity was worthy of the read.
Absolutely.
Let's go to Larry. Larry!
Hey, guys. Enjoy the show always. I wanted to ask you, Landrum, you do football games in the fall, high school football games, correct?
I do.
Have you ever called a game at Herdmont at Oak Mountain Field?
I have. Yep. My nephew actually just graduated from Oak Mountain, and I had the privilege of calling one of his games.
Well, I was just wondering, my precious mother looking down from heaven, the balcony of heaven, out there at the, obviously, Herdmont Park, that senior center out there was my mother.
Oh, okay. Wow.
Mary Ellen Estes. That was my family's been in healthcare for over 70 years, but, y'all were talking about, I got to tell y'all this, but I have older brothers that, high school 73, 76, and I've got a brother that's 10 years older than me.
Yeah.
But y'all don't know what torture is, guys. I mean, my mother would be under the jail for the things that she did to us. And I mean, with a baby sister that's 56, she never was touched. But I'm talking not just belts and the ones that used to hurt the most was Hot Wheel tracks, orange Hot Wheel tracks.
Ooh.
Across the face, on the back.
The face.
And the one
That's
that'll
rough.
really get you, my oldest brother, who I love very much, his class of high school, well, he got out of he's about to turn 70 in August. We couldn't get him out of bed, and my mother did everything. And finally, her ingenious, the way she got my oldest brother out of bed, almost 300 pounds, he would fight or whatever, but she thought one morning, I know how to get him out of bed. She took about a 3 or 4 inch sewing needle to the butt. I mean, jabbed it in his rear end until he was bleeding. I mean, my mom was a terror. Her nickname was Tasmanian, but that was my mother. And
Was she a
loved
redhead?
No, but I mean, my mother, there's a picture there of my mother. My family's been in healthcare for well over 75 years. My grandmother started our business. If you've seen Forrest Gump, that's my family that's been in the healthcare industry for, that's all my last name, but that was my mother. I miss her dearly. She passed in 03 to ovarian cancer, but I'm serious. With older brothers, my little sister, she was never.
Well, you know what? Even in those spankings, and I was telling people, reliving my mom. She was a first grade teacher and just a wonderful, wonderful person and woman. But I would trade anything to go back and have one of those spankings or whippings just to have one more day with her.
Yeah, my brother David, my middle brother, was killed by my mother, but my older brother and myself. But I'll never forget it. But when you're that young and you're getting terrorized by your mother, you're so mad. But as you get older, you realize she did it for the number one reason she loved us to.
You daggum right.
Whatever.
Yep.
I just wanted to tell you that, guys. Enjoy the show.
Larry,
always.
thank you so much. We appreciate it. Have a great rest of your Thursday. We do it for educational purposes and awareness. The worst thing that Conrad has seen. Next. $119, three-man front. Celine Dion coming back. That could only mean that Damian Mitchell is near. We do have the worst thing I've seen coming up. I want to tell you about our friends at Mandu, and for a lot of us, unless you're going back to school in like 3 weeks, which is really, really quick. It's hard to believe. But a lot of you're still carving out that vacation time, just wanting to feel better. You can get into Mandu. It's electrical muscle stimulation fitness. Your first visit is free. They're located right there in downtown Homewood, but your first visit, they're going to put you in something that simulates like a wetsuit. You have cables that run from that suit to a machine that sends electric pulses to various muscle groups, whether you want to focus on your glutes, that means your booty, or you want to focus on your calves, your legs, your arms, your shoulders, your chest, you can do that, or just overall feel better. They got tailor-made programs just for you. Doesn't matter your age. Doesn't matter if you're a man or a woman. They've got different things for everybody. Mandu in downtown Homewood. First visit is free. MANDUU.com. Tell Paul and the gang that Landrum from Jox sent you. We see good. We see bad. Conrad has seen something bad, but he's going to try to educate everyone to promote awareness. This is the worst thing that Conrad has seen.
All right, well, we're going to head up north to the great state of Minnesota. Molly, can you help me out?
Oh, Minnesota.
There we go. The great state of Minnesota.
Go Golden Gophers.
And this is, unfortunately, this story doesn't involve the Golden Gophers. It involves the Minnesota Vikings and a player that we are all very familiar with here in the state of Alabama. That would be one Dallas Turner, former Alabama star from just a couple of years ago. Now a linebacker there for the Minnesota Vikings. And this is a story that has been published by the Minnesota Star Tribune. And it reports that Dallas Turner was scammed out of $240,000 in a banking fraud scheme. Turner received a call in February from an individual impersonating a J.P. Morgan Chase banker, claiming that someone was attempting to impersonate him and execute a transfer at a bank branch in Arizona. The caller then directed Dallas Turner to send $120,000 to two separate business accounts to thwart the theft attempt. Dallas Turner, unfortunately for his sake, obliged. Authorities have since obtained a search warrant to seize financial records from the bank Turner sent the money from in Eagan, Minnesota. And Police Sergeant Rich Evans says that the department has, quote, identified several suspects and recovered almost $2,500 of the $240,000. So if you remember, Dallas Turner was the number 17 overall pick in the 2024 NFL draft and is entering his second season with the Vikings.
All right, I'm not laughing. I hate a thief, and that's his money. Hate a thief. Hate it. But if someone takes $240,000, steals it from me, and you call me and say, good news, Mr. Roberts, we have been able to recoup $2,500 of that $240,000. Save the phone call.
Yeah, I'd say
Exactly.
just don't even.
That didn't help.
That's only gonna make me mad.
Yes,
That's only gonna make me even more mad.
And again, I know these are tough things to talk about because I understand that this is a very real thing for a lot of people that have gotten scammed and fooled into these things, and you feel really bad for them. But again, and I can't put myself in the position, but having someone on the phone with you saying, hey, we think there's some fraud going on. The only way to take care of this is by sending $240,000 to get rid of the issue. I would have a lot of questions. And I'm sure maybe he did. Maybe this was something he talked to somebody about or a financial advisor and they got fooled too. I don't know, but I like to think I wouldn't get fooled by that.
No,
but again,
there's no way a financial advisor is going to advise you to do that.
I wouldn't think
I would
so.
call my agent.
And
like,
I don't
hey,
know the setup, so I'm not judging him. I just know in my case, those kinds of moves have to be made if it's that would have to be made by my financial guy.
Right.
Yes, I would think so.
I don't want to have the ability to go in there and have access to that.
The good news for Dallas Turner, it's a bad situation, but the good news for him overall is that through 1 year of the NFL, he has already collected $9 million through his signing bonus and his first year salary. So this year he will make $960,000. So this is roughly 25% of his salary.
Right.
Actually, it's exactly 25% of his salary for the upcoming year. So it's horrible,
but
he's not in financial distress.
He's not the person that all of their life savings is gone.
Correct.
Right.
Correct. This is a big hit. It stings, no doubt about it.
It stings.
Yeah.
But
so mad.
Fortunately for him, has a lot of money left in the bank. But yeah, just a sad situation, and hopefully they're able to get all of the money back for him. But You hear about these things.
You do,
pretty
and you wonder
regularly.
how could somebody, and it's not just him, it's how could they make that mistake? But a lot of times people are vulnerable. You don't know what they got going on in their personal life.
Absolutely.
And they could have just, these thieves, these criminals could have capitalized. He might have had a lot going on and thinking, okay, this is on the up and up.
Yep.
This is somebody that works with Dave or Marcia and my financial whatever, and I'm going to do this. It's a no-brainer.
And like a lot of criminals in this case, while I mean, it's safe to say they're not great people, a lot of times they're very smart, right? A lot of the times the people that pull these things off, they're not dumb,
Look,
right? There's a reason that these work because they're
these thieves
smart.
and these people that come up with these things, they're not. A lot of them they got a lick of sense.
Yeah.
They are intelligent.
And
if
that's
they
why
would
they
put
pull
that
it off.
towards doing something that was legal, they could probably land a pretty good job. But they don't want to work.
Dallas Turner should be he should be legally spared from. He should be able to put hands and feet on the person that took this money from him.
Somebody just
I
texted
agree.
in and asked, has he reached out to that Ferkling guy for Tennessee to see if he has the money?
Oh, God.
That was pine straw. That was different.
This is a whole
Man,
different.
$240,000 in pine straw? That's a lot of pine straw.
It's a lot of pine straw.
But yeah, unfortunately, that is the latest from Minnesota and Dallas Turner as he got scammed out of $240,000, of which, if you're just now joining us, they have recovered $2,500.
All right, Mike is saying worst part is the name of the businesses he sent. What was the name of the businesses? Can you find that?
I am looking for that. Let's see here. Don't tell me it's going to be something. I feel like it's going to be something where you look at it and you go, "Oh, how would you ever fall for that?" But yet again, like you just discussed, it's people can be vulnerable. Let's see. Oh, this is where we need Pat. I'm not a subscriber to the Minnesota Star Tribune, so I will try to find the name of the businesses, but I can't find them right now.
Okay.
I'm looking. If I find them, I will.
It's getting a little unhinged over there.
Be sure to let
Acme
y'all know.
Brick.
You might get
My
Wile E.
stepdad used to
Coyote.
work for them. He just retired last week.
Oh, you know what? That is a real company. I was going back to
here.
like the
Looney
Looney.
Tunes.
I was going back to Looney Tunes, and
Oh,
they had
that's
the
the-
Acme company.
That's the Dynamite, right? Acme Brick
Yeah,
is
yeah.
a real
Yeah.
company here in Alabama.
Shout out to our friends at Acme Brick.
Yeah, that's why I was like, oh yeah, Wile E. Coyote can get fooled, but not
here-
Dallas Turner.
Here we go. I found them. Dallas Turner sent $120,000 each to these two companies. One, Island Food Truck LLC,
Yeah, that.
and the next one, CNL FL LLC. No idea what that would possibly stand for. But yeah, the Island Food Truck one, I could see where that one would maybe be
Right.
that would maybe be a red flag.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But who knows? Maybe it's a situation like you brought up. Maybe he has a business venture where he's looking
be.
into buying a food truck
Could be,
or
yeah.
operating a food truck, and they found that information out, and there's your in.
All right. Be vigilant, people.
Absolutely.
Be very, very vigilant. Molly has been vigilant. She's got questions. Molly marinates. We do it next on Three Man Front. 132, three-man front. Molly marinates. In case you've never heard Molly marinates, she marinates on questions. She decides which questions she's going to ask, and they're always outstanding, and we try to answer them as a group. But first.
Thank you, Landrum. Sorry. Still recovering from my sickness. Well, one place that you guys need to go check out is Diamonds Direct because they're the place where exceptional value has a personal touch. Competitive pricing meets exceptional warm service, and you'll never feel rushed because their focus is on finding the right piece for your style, budget, and occasion. Their team is committed to building long-term relationships. They're not just wanting to make a sale. They take the time to understand your needs, not only for now, but also in the future. They also offer from free cleanings to polishing to ring sizes and routine repairs. Diamonds Direct provides complimentary care for a lifetime of jewelry. No strings attached. So go check them out at the Cahaba Village in Mountain Brook.
Molly, Molly, Molly. 5 questions for Molly Robinson. We try to answer maybe a bonus. Don't be doing your face like that. Nobody pooted, Damien. This is Molly Marinates.
Molly Marinates. And as always, Molly Marinates / Pat Ponders is always brought to you by Courtesy GMC out in Trussville.
Damien Mitchell here in the studio.
Yes, hi, Damien.
Hey. How's everybody
Welcome.
going?
That was a lot by him.
I was wondering.
Molly, Molly, Molly.
Yeah, it just threw me for a loop.
It's kind of like in Austin Powers.
Welcome to the
Mole,
three-man
mole,
front
mole,
experience.
mole.
Right, that's what we do. We
I
do
see.
loops
That's just how it
all
is.
day.
I'm here for
That's how
it.
it is.
Thanks for having me.
All right, you guys ready for the first question?
You're welcome.
Stay ready.
Okay, question 1. So The Athletic did a player poll around MLB, and they asked a series of questions, one of which was what organizations have good reputations amongst players and bad reputations. I have the full list in front of me, but especially for, Conrad and Landrum and Damien, you guys are all big baseball fans, big
Okay.
baseball guys. I wanted to see if you could guess who the top 3 in terms of reputations were and the bottom 3. And this is the team's reputations amongst players.
Okay.
Ooh.
Top 3?
Yes, like the organizations, I should say.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Is this like what they do with the NFL, kind of where they
Yes,
go through and
it's
it's like,
pretty much
oh,
like
they have
that.
bad daycare, so I'm mad, whatever.
Yeah.
Okay.
I will go Braves, Cardinals, and Rangers.
All right.
For your top 3?
Yeah.
I will go Dodgers, Giants, and Cardinals.
Okay.
I'd say Cardinals, Dodgers. And I'm going to take a whiff. I'm going to say the Detroit Tigers.
Okay, thanks, Damien. I appreciate
Such a
that.
kiss up.
Wrong.
Well, do you guys want me to give you the top 3 before you guess the bottom 3?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Number 1, the Dodgers.
No surprise.
Yeah.
Number 2, the New York Yankees.
That is surprising.
Oh, this is so crazy.
That
it's
is
the teams that
the
give
money.
players $1 billion.
Makes sense.
Makes sense.
That is actually surprising to me.
And
but-
number 3, the Atlanta Braves.
Oh,
Wow, okay.
There we go.
That's the team that gives people $220 million for them not to hit their weight.
Now, all of y'all said the Cards, right?
Yeah.
The Cards were they were number 21. They were quite a ways down.
Poor Pat.
I know. I was kind of shocked by that too.
I
But
thought the tradition and all that stuff.
Exactly.
With them, yeah.
so any guesses with the bottom 3?
Bottom 3 are going to be
Athletics.
the Marlins, the Athletics, and the
Pirates.
Reds.
No. I'm gonna say the Astros.
Yeah, a bunch of cheaters.
I'm gonna go with the A's, and I'm gonna say the Minnesota Twins. Because
Okay.
nobody wants to go there.
Okay.
Ooh, okay.
The worst team, or I guess the team with the worst reputation amongst players,
Athletics.
the A's.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Okay.
That
The
was easy.
second worst, the White Sox,
Oh yeah.
and then number
Yeah.
3, the Rockies.
Okay.
Those were the bottom
That
3.
Makes sense.
But you get to live in Colorado.
Marlins
that's
was
cool.
4th,
Get
and then
high
the
every
Pirates
day.
was number 5.
Yeah. That one, yeah. That one was easier than the best ones.
I thought the Yankees would be down. there.
Endless supply of cannabis.
I did not think the Yankees would be in the top 3.
Right.
I didn't either because of the whole facial hair and.
Well, and I
Yeah.
don't think people love the front office right now.
I know that they
but-
changed, but
We did change. And look where it got us. 6-game losing streak.
Ugh, you're
We've won 2
terrible.
in a row now. Sorry, next question, Molly.
All right, next question. So if today you had to place a bet on whatever conference that the Heisman winner will reign from. So the Heisman winner I guess this would be like what, the 2026 Heisman, what conference will he come from? If you had to pick from the SEC or the field, where would your money go?
Oh, I thought.
Oh, the field.
That makes it harder.
I'm gonna go field.
I'm still gonna go SEC.
Yeah, I'd probably go SEC too with Nussmeier, Arch,
Mateer,
right? John Mateer, Lagway, Sellers potentially.
Arnold, Simpson.
Sure, yeah, sure. Him and Ty
Haynes
they
King
can watch
plays
from
in
home.
the ACC.
Yeah, he's gone.
Carson Beck plays in the ACC.
See, I'm thinking like I like Cade Klubnik. That would be the one outside of the SEC. I
Right.
would go first, but like I'm not sold on Julian Saying. Need to see that. Not sold on Dante Moore.
Nah.
I'll go SEC.
Okay. I had a
Now-
lot of fun writing that question.
What about you,
I
Molly?
could see a former SEC player winning it at a
Different school.
non-SEC
See, I would take the field.
You take the field.
That's
I
just-
think
I'm gonna take the field too.
the field is the smart betting
Exactly.
choice.
Me and Molly are smart.
Nah, we're aggressive.
Next
over here.
question. Boom.
All right. So I know it's Prime Day. I don't know if it's today, if it was yesterday.
Bull jump.
Because I don't really order stuff off of Amazon.
Yeah,
But I was thinking,
it's still going on.
have you ever ordered something off of Amazon just because you didn't want to go to the store? For example, I have a friend, every month a pack of toilet paper shows up on her front door. Like it's automatic.
No,
that
I like
sort of thing.
number one. I like going to the store.
Mm-hmm.
Number two, I'm not lazy. Not saying that if you order from Prime, but
Wow,
no, I like to
Landrum.
support
But there's
my.
people that order like toothbrushes off of Prime.
Yeah, there's some things.
Like I just go to the store for that.
I just
Yeah.
pick mine up off the street.
Evidently.
Yeah,
No.
I'm glad you said toothbrushes. What about you?
Yeah, I'll go to the store.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
I'm
like
on-
the interaction.
If the only reason I'm going to use Amazon for something is, which is, I mean, pretty often, but if I can't go just get it at a store like a Walmart or whatever, or if it's really on sale.
Right.
I try to support local as much as I can.
Yeah.
But it is great. Like I bought something for Prime Day yesterday, and it's at my house right now. Less than 24 hours. Pretty nice.
All right, you guys want a BB question?
Of course.
Let's do it.
All right. This is from BB. Have you ever been the victim of a practical joke that had a serious or lasting emotional effect on you?
Dynasty.
A lasting effect.
Yes. Watching a game as a kid, football game, and my dad and my sister were out in the other room. I was in the bathroom and I was doing my business. Yep. And they started yelling and screaming like there was a touchdown. So halfway, ran and they took a picture.
Oh, no.
Yep.
That's
wild.
Took a picture.
Yeah,
and
that's
it
unfortunate.
was not good.
No, not anything that has a lasting effect.
See, that's what I'm saying. Like, I had one of my friends in high school put my car on Craigslist, and that made my life hell for a couple of weeks.
That's insane.
That's
Hell, the amount of phone calls and texts that I got about my car that was not for sale. And he went out in the parking lot
So
of school, took a picture
funny.
of it, and uploaded it on Craigslist.
That's wild.
It didn't have a lasting, like, I'm not still frustrated with it, but at the time, for a couple weeks, I was pissed.
I went
funny.
went to a foreign land, and the group that I was traveling with is a group of buddies. They thought it'd be funny to take a wood carved, something you would find
That's wild.
at one of those kind of stores, and they snuck it in my bag. And then coming back into the country, they kept scanning my bag, and they said, "Mr. Roberts, could you come over here?"
Oh my god.
And I was like, "What?"
That's bad,
That's-
but awesome
that's
at the
rough.
same
And then,
time.
of course, they're like, sure. I was looking at them. They're all dying laughing. So I got the guy back, and I'll tell you how I did after the show.
That's awesome.
That's tough.
Great questions today, Molly.
Yeah,
Thank you very
good
much.
stuff. We appreciate it. Three-man front right here on Jox.